some form. Honorable members, I want us to bring this debate to an end. Honorable Sabina Chege was given an opportunity to speak. Honorable Wandai was given an opportunity to speak. Honorable Majority Leader was given an opportunity to speak. And all the members who spoke have the right to speak the way they spoke, have the right to defend Sabina or to prosecute Sabina, depending on which school of thought you hold on the matter or which party position you are taking. But the ultimate responsibility and decision lies with your speaker, and I'll bring you a reasoned ruling in due course. Honorable Senior Counsel Otienda, I have tremendous respect for you. Allow me to close this debate now. As my distinguished learned junior, I'm sure you understand very well that when we say we close, we close. I know you are a man who speaks very sensibly. You are unlikely to raise passions. If you have any matter to add to what I'm going to rule, I give you the freedom to write me a small note. I want to close this matter here. And Honorable Wandai, this was not a motion, so there's no right of reply. Yes, there's no right of reply. And I want order, I need no help. Honorable members, I need no order, Honorable Wandai. You know, let me tell you members, what has just happened here is not strange. In a democratic dispensation, sometimes we take leave of our senses and do strange things. But the moment you realize that, you quickly recollect yourself and sit back as an honorable member. That's what I urge you to do. As your speaker, I want to go on record as leading an orderly house, a house of reason, a house where when an issue comes and you have the opportunity to speak, speak to the facts and not to individuals, or casting emotions that are totally unhelpful and unnecessary. We will make a reasoned ruling that will give you direction and set precedents to assist this House in future. Next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Order, clerk. Honorable Wandai, what is the problem?
Okay, you know.
Don't open any.
No, I'm not opening anything, really. You know, Mr. Speaker, these are House of rules and record and procedures. And it behoves all of us, really, to ensure that it conducts itself in a manner that is respectable. And I've been pleading with you, not once, not twice, but very many times, that you have a duty, Mr. Speaker, to ensure this House doesn't degenerate. My point of order really is not about anything that has been discussed. I listen to you keenly. I've listened to you keenly, Honorable Speaker. And regardless of what else has been said on this matter.
Are you analyzing what I've just said?
What I am requesting you is to indicate to the minority coalition when exactly you intend to communicate on the matter we wrote to you about. That's what I really am, because that's not too much here.
You don't need to say those very many words to ask for when is the ruling. You could have just said that. Yes, you could have just said, Mr. Speaker, when are you giving us the ruling? Instead of taking a very long route to arrive at where you are standing. I will give you a ruling, Honorable Wandai, in the manner that I feel deemed fit, and it will come very soon. Next order. Not on the debate I have closed. Yes, Honorable Otienda Molo. I hope you are, I will stop you, Senior Counsel, if you wade into the debate that I've closed. Give him.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, As a member of parliament, familiar with the rules, and as a lawyer, I respect the guidance you've given. I will not speak on that issue. My point of order is different. I see my friend, the Honorable Didmas Barasa, wearing a garb on his head, which I believe is unparliamentary. I believe the rules have always been, unless it changed today, Mr. Speaker, that you are only allowed to wear a garb in your head if it is religious. I do not believe that the red herring the Honorable Didmas Barasa is wearing is a religious one. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I urge that you guide him and others who have been similarly dressing like him. Because some of them mistake, and that's the problem with the previous debate, rights versus privileges. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Otieno Amolo, thank you very much. I have seen several members sporting similar gear. I'll look at the rules and how we ought to adhere to our dress code, and I can give you a communication later. The very last point of order, Chepkonga, and don't open debate that we have closed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, generally, yes, I follow rules and yes, guidance. And, you know, I don't shout myself. I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 83, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm very concerned. The reason why people are shouting here is people stand on a purported standing order.
Point of order.
Point of order. Mr. Speaker, Standing Order number 83, let me read it for the benefit of members here. And I'm hoping that whoever sits on your chair, Mr. Speaker, will enforce this. We cannot purport to be ignorant of what the law says. We approve our own standing orders, and then we come here, putting up our hands, shouting at the Speaker, and then you say, I rise on a point of order. Mr. Speaker, let me just read Standing Order point number 83. Any member may raise a point of order at any time during the speech of another member, stating that the member rises on a point of order, and that member, Mr. Speaker, I must emphasize, shall, it is mandatory, be required to indicate the standing order upon which the point of order is based. Mr. Speaker, if somebody rises on a point of order and he doesn't quote any, I expect whoever sits in your speech, whether yourself or the Honorable Wangare here, should rule that person out of order, should sit and look for what is the standing order in which they are standing on. The reason why we become unruly, we even sabotage the debate in this House, Mr. Speaker, is because people don't know what standing order they are standing on. Mr. Speaker, Article 150 of the Constitution states very clearly, there shall be debate, there shall be freedom of debate and speech. And that speech, Mr. Speaker, is guided by the standing orders of this House. Absolutely. And these are our own rules. If you think that these rules don't matter, just bring a motion and we expand the rules, Mr. Speaker, so that we become a lawless debating chamber. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Chepkonga. You have said what the Speaker would have said. Standing orders are here to guide our debate. The only variable sometimes, Honorable Chepkonga, is that sometimes a member on the floor is visibly out of order, and it becomes innocuous to ask a member which standing order when you can see that the member is veering off the standing orders. So sometimes we exercise that discretion. But what I want to urge you, particularly my brother from Budalangi, that I encourage you, when you have a point of order, even before we came to electronic gadgets, all a member needed to say was point of order and sit down. And the Speaker will listen and give you a chance. And normally when a member is on the floor, when another member calls a point of order, the one on the floor stops talking and sits down and waits for the point of order to be prosecuted. And the Speaker will rule whether it's a point of order that's valid or not valid. But when we see the bad example I've seen in my brother from Budalangi, not only shouting, but also gesturing at both the chair and the member on the floor, and uttering sometimes words that are not very palatable, it is not very good. I want to encourage my brother Wanjala, you are senior. There are juniors here who want to learn from you. And I don't want them to learn the bad things, I want them to learn the good things from you as a senior, so that we keep on mentoring our juniors to move together with you who have been here longer. Lillian Kogo. Farah, I'll give you after Lillian. Please don't open any debate on Sabina Chege. There's no motion on Sabina Chege here.
I'm well guided, Honorable Speaker, Papa. And I must stand here, Honorable Speaker, to commend you on the way you have conducted the dissidents in the House this afternoon. And as a Member of Parliament who is doing her second term, Honorable Speaker, I've been here for 5 years, and I was graced to get another 5 years. This is a House of elected representatives, Honorable Speaker. And when members want to start insinuating and attacking the personality, the orientation, and how certain gender looks, Honorable Speaker, it is despicable. We only have elected representatives in this House. And Honorable Speaker, for one to be locked behind this door to be called a member of National Assembly, especially for a woman member, Honorable Speaker, it costs more than enough if it is not for the life of that particular woman. I beg you, Papa. There is a tendency that is coming up in this House of members wanting to entertain the House using the gender of the woman. And this we will not allow as women leaders of this country. Honorable Speaker, when a member takes time to say, don't look my direction, I do not want you. This is not a house of wanting each other. This is not a house of sexuality, Honorable Speaker. This is not a house where people want to come and talk about sexual insinuations, Honorable Speaker. Kenyans are looking up to us to debate on matters that are current, to debate on matters that affect the nation, to move the nation forward, and not to talk about sexuality, Honorable Speaker. You made your point, Lillian. I thank you. I thank you, Papa.
Farah, what is your point of order?
My point of order, Mr. Speaker, is actually to inform my colleagues on both sides. We only have the dignity we have right now of being called Waheshimiwa because we are in a dignified, august institution. The biggest indignity you can bring in this House is for members of Parliament to be on their feet when the Speaker is on his feet. Whatever the issue is, whatever the debate is, you can raise it and say, was it in order for honorable member to do ABCD? You can interrogate and debate anything that is there in the House. But for God's sake, when the chair stands and the Speaker says order, you can't have both sides of the House here pointing fingers at one another and behaving like this, I don't know, in a football match, in the FA, in UK and other places, because in Africa, we don't even do that. And I want to call on and beg, to begin with the two leaders of this House, the majority leader and the minority leader, to please show a good example in this House for the rest. Please, for God's sake, don't address a gallery outside this House. Let us debate the future of this country in this House, because the future is vested in our hands. It's not vested in the hand. There's the executive of Ruto or Raila. The future of this country is vested in our hands. We are the ones who will determine how this country is going to govern for posterity. So for God's sake, more than anything else, when both sides rise and the Speaker is on his feet and you're pointing fingers at one another, led by none other than the leaders of the House on both sides, that is a very bad example. The Speaker says, Ordinarily, he would not want to spend that. Personally, having had an experience as a deputy speaker, I would not hesitate to send everybody out of the house. If not for another reason, to maintain the dignity of this institution, because other people will come and will take over from that. So let us have, I do understand that we have issues. I know that the minority is a minority in its own right here, and the majority cannot determine who heads the minority or who does not head. It's a fact of life. That's why it's called the minority leadership.
You are
the majority
debate, Farah.
order. Okay.
Close that debate. Order. Next order. Next order.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Thursday, April 13, 2023. Reports of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect of the following institutions for the financial year ended 30th June 2022. 1, State Department for Development of the Arid and Semi-Arid Lands, ASALs. 2, Kenya Off-Grid Solar Access Project for underserved counties, Ministry of Energy and SNV, Netherlands Development Organization. 3, Roads 2000 Phase 2 projects, Kenya Rural Roads Authority. 4, Green Zones Development Support Project Phase 2, Kenya Forest Service. 5, Integrated Program to build resilience to climate change and adaptive capacity for vulnerable communities in Kenya, National Environment Management Authority. 6 is a global fund to contribute to achieving Vision 2030 through universal access to comprehensive HIV prevention, treatment, and care, NFM2 program, the National Treasury. 7 is the Enable Youth Kenya program, State Department for Crop Development and Agricultural Research. 8, Agricultural Sector Development Support Program 2, State Department for Crop Development and Agricultural Research. 8, Agricultural Sector Development Support Program 2, State Department for Crop Development and Agricultural Research, sorry, that was the repetition. 9 is support to the technical and vocational education training and entrepreneurship under the State Department for Vocational and Technical Training. 10, support to road sector policy. 10th EDF Rural Roads Rehabilitation Project in Kenya, Kenya Rural Roads Authority. 11, Eastern and Southern Africa Higher Education Centers of Excellence, State Department for University Education and Research. 12, Coastal Region Water Security and Climate Resilience Project, Ministry of Water and Sanitation and Irrigation. 13, Water and Sanitation Development Project, Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation. 14, Program for Legal Empowerment and Aid Delivery, State Law Office and Department of Justice. 15, Multinational Kenya-Tanzania Power Interconnection Project, Kenyan Component, Kenya Electricity Transmission Company Limited. 16, Bagamoyo, Horohoro, Lungalunga, Malindi Road Projects, Phase 1, Kenya National Highways Authority. 17, Kenya Informal Settlement Improvement Project, State Department for Housing and Urban Development. 18, Sector Informal Settlements Improvement Project, State Department for Housing and Urban Development. 19, Promotion of Youth Employment and Vocational Training in Kenya, TVET Phase 1 Project, State Department for Vocational Training and Technical Training. 20, Secondary Education Quality Improvement Project, State Department for Early Learning and Basic Education. 21, the Kenya Development Response to Displacement Impacts Project, State Department for Development of Arid and Semi-Arid Lands. 22, Establishment of Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology Project under the Ministry of Education, State Department for University Education and Research. 23, Mombasa Mariakani Highway Project, Kwa Jomvu, under Kenya National Highways Authority. 24, State Department for Industrialization. And 25, IPOA, Independent Policing Oversight Authority. And finally, the Veterinary Services Development Fund. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
majority, the usual Thursday statement.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, thank you. And pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44.2a, I rise to give the following statement on behalf of the House Business Committee, which met on Tuesday, 11th April 2023, to prioritize the business for consideration during the week. Honorable Speaker, as members are aware, yesterday Professor Kithure Kindiki, Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Interior and National Administration, was the first Cabinet Secretary to appear before the National Assembly plenary to answer questions and expound on policies under his docket. I would like to thank members for their presence and active participation, which contributed to the success of this new process. Honorable Speaker, with regard to the business for next week, on Tuesday, the House is expected to continue with debate on the report of the Departmental Committee on Labor on the inquiry regarding sexual harassment of female workers in tea estates in Kericho County, general debate on the proposal to amend the Constitution and the standing orders, and the second reading of the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendments Bill 2022, should they not be concluded today. Honorable Speaker, as I had indicated earlier in the week, I will be updating the House every Thursday on which Cabinet Secretaries are scheduled to appear during the upcoming Wednesday afternoon plenary session. Therefore, in accordance with the provisions of Standing Order 42A, 5 and 6, I wish to convey that the following Cabinet Secretaries are scheduled to appear before the House on the afternoon of Wednesday, 19th April 2023, to respond to questions as follows. One will be the Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport to respond to the following questions. Question number 018-2023 by the Honorable Joyce Kamene, MP, regarding erection of a footbridge at the Hilton Garden Inn crossing. 2, question number 072 of 2023 by Honorable Paul Abur, MP, regarding delayed completion of the Riosiri Rongo University Chamgiwadu Road. 3, question number 077 of 2023 by Honorable Gideon Muliungi, MP, regarding completion of construction of Kalisasi Mumbuni Road, Phase 1 and Phase 2. Question number 078 of 2023 by the Honorable Gideon Muliungi, regarding stall construction of Nguni Nu Road and Enziu Bridge in Kitui County. Question number 079 of 2023 by the Honorable Charles Ngusia, MP, regarding upgrade to bitumen standard of Kibwezi Kitui Kabati Migwani Mbondoni Road. Question number 080 of 2023 by the Honorable Peter Masara, MP, regarding stall construction of Kokedi Arombe Bridge in Suna West constituency. Question number 081 of 2023 by the Honorable Gideon Muliungi, MP, regarding easing of traffic congestion in the city since the Nairobi Expressway became operational. 8 is question number 082 of 2023 by the Honorable Tom Odege, MP, regarding stall construction of Masara, Sori, Agolomwok Road in Nyatike constituency. 9 is question number 083 of 2023 by the Honorable Gideon Muliungi, MP, regarding stall construction of Mwingi Slaughterhouse Road. And question number 10 is question number 0115 of 2023 by Honorable John Juguna, MP, regarding stalled road projects in the country, pending bills owed to contractors and the reasons thereof. B, the other Cabinet Secretary to appear will be the Cabinet Secretary for Environment, Climate Change and Forestry to respond to the following questions. 1, question number 069 of 2023 by Honorable Caroline Ngelechei, MP, regarding massive decrease in forest cover percentage despite ban of maize cultivation implantation, establishment and livelihood improvement scheme, PELIS. And 2, question number 104, 2023 by Honorable Abdul Haro, MP, regarding impact of heat waves in the country. Finally, the House Business Committee, Honorable Speaker, shall reconvene on Tuesday, 18th April 2023 to schedule business for the rest of the week. I now wish to lay this statement on the table of the House. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Member for Buri, Honorable Mugambi Rindikiri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
How long is your statement?
You should be able to take less than 7 minutes.
Okay.
I rise to issue a general statement on participation of the Kenya Parliament in the 13th Plenary Assembly of the Forum of Parliament of Member States of the International Conference on the Great Lake Region, FPICGLR. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 43, I rise to make a general statement regarding the participation of Kenya Parliament on the Great Lake Regions, FPICGLR, in Juba, the Republic of South Sudan, from 27th March 2023 to 1st April 2023. The National Assembly was represented by the member for Isiolo County, Honorable Mumina Golo, MP, member for Kiminini constituency, the Honorable Kaikai Bissau, MP, and yours truly, the Honorable Mugambi Ndikiri, MP. Honorable Speaker, the Parliamentary Forum of the ICGLR is the interparliamentary organization with a central role of promoting peace, security, stability, and development in the Great Lake region through parliamentary action and diplomacy. It comprises parliament from 12 member states, namely the Republic of Angola, the Republic of Burundi, the Central African Republic, the Republic of Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Republic of Kenya, the Republic of Rwanda, the Republic of Sudan, the Republic of South Sudan, the United Republic of Tanzania, and the Republic of Uganda, and the Republic of Zambia. Honorable Speaker, during the event, participants engaged in discussions on various matters of mutual security concern for the region. Among them was the consideration and adoption of a solution on the political, security, and humanitarian situation in the Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Republic of Sudan, and the Republic of South Sudan. During the conference, elections were conducted for the Bureau of Permanent Committees of the Parliamentary Forum. Kenya, through a highly vigorous process, managed to clear the position of two chairpersons of two committees out of the 5 permanent committees of the Parliamentary Forum. I was honored to be elected the president of the Committee on Democracy and Good Governance. Mina Gulo, MP, is a member of the Committee on Humanitarian and Social Issues. The Senator of Mandela, Senator Hali Loba, GH MP, is a member of the Committee on Economic Development, Natural Resources, and Leisure Integration, while Senator Sena Lemaretian, MP, is a member of the Committee on Human, Children, and Vulnerable Persons. Honorable Speaker, members of the Kenya Parliament in those committees is very critical in enhancing Kenya's footprint in shaping and influencing the agenda on peace and conflict resolution in the Great Lake region. It is my hope that the continued participation by our Parliament in the ICGLR and the committees will be supposed to, as long as so as to bring forth proactive and sustainable strategies that will strengthen economic development, democracy, and intergender perspectives and mobilize the requisite resources to support the work of the Parliamentary Forum. Honourable Speaker, on behalf of the delegation and on behalf of my own behalf, allow me to take this opportunity to thank you for facilitating our participation in the forum and look forward to more support to the members, particularly Honorable Kakai Bissau and myself, as we preside over the two respective committees to which we were elected president. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Indigiri, and congratulations to you and the member for Kiminini.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For bringing honor to the country. Next statement is a statement to be brought by the Chair, Departmental Committee on Sports and Culture. Honorable Dan Wanyama informed the Chair that there's another member who is giving the response. Is it Mary Mase? Go ahead. Is Cynthia Muge here? The statement you are responding to is in respect of a matter
Cynthia Muge
raised by
the
Cynthia
question,
Muge.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
To be fair to her, since she's not here, I would defy it so that you can deliver it maybe on Tuesday.
I stand guided, Mr. Speaker.
When she's here, we've not been informed of her whereabouts. A majority, you can inform Cynthia Muge that we have stepped down her statement to Tuesday. Next order.
Order number 8, motion, ratification of the African Union Treaty for the establishment of the African Medicines Agency, AMA. Question to be put.
Honorable members, order Honorable Member for Kericho, take your seat. I now put the question that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Health on its consideration of the ratification of the African Union Treaty for the establishment of the African Medicines Agency, AMA, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 21st March 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8.4 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act 2012, approves the ratification of the African Union Treaty for the establishment of the African Medicines Agency. As members of that opinion say aye. As men of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, reports of the 144th and 145th Assemblies of the Interparliamentary Union. Question to be put.
Honourable member now put the question, which is that this House notes the reports of the Kenya delegations to the 144th and 145th Assemblies of the Interparliamentary Union and related meetings held in Nusa Dua, Indonesia, from 28th to 24th March 2022, and in Kigali, Rwanda, from 11th to 15th October 2022.
appointment of chairperson of the Kenya Fish Marketing Authority laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 12 April 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of the Section 201, subsection 1A and 2 of the Fisheries Management and Development Act 2016 and Section 8(1) of the Public Appointments Act of 2011, this House approves the appointment of the Honorable Martin Otieno Okindo as the chairperson of the Kenya Fish and Marketing Authority. Madam Speaker, on 14th March 2023, His Excellency the President nominated and notified this House, the National Assembly, the nomination of the Honorable Martin Otieno Madam Speaker, the clerk also invited the public to submit a memoranda by way of written statement on oath on the suitability of the nominee in conformity with Section 6, subsection 9 of the Public Appointment, that's Parliamentary Act number 33 of 2011. At the close of submission, Madam Speaker, the committee had not received any memoranda contesting the nominee suitability. Honorable Speaker, the Clerk of the National Assembly also wrote to the Kenya Revenue Authority, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, the Higher Education Loans Board, the Office of Registrar of Political Parties, seeking the reference and the background checks relating to the suitability of the nominee. Madam Speaker, the nominee appeared before the committee on Friday, 31st March 2023 for vetting. The committee examined his suitability based on the criteria set out under the Section 7 of the Public Appointment Act and the Section 201, subsection 1A of the Kenya Fish and Development Authority Act. In addition, the committee examined his academic credentials, the relevant experience, Madam Speaker, the knowledge of sector issues, the leadership and integrity. Madam Speaker, during the approval hearing, the committee also paid a due regard to the procedure used to arrive at the nominee, any constitutional or statutory requirement relating to the office in question, and the suitability of the nominee for the appointment proposed, having regard to whether the nominee abilities, experience, and qualities meets the needs of the chairperson of Fish Marketing Authority. In this regard, Madam Speaker, the committee observed the following: that the nominee is a Kenyan citizen born on 28th December 1966, that the nominee went to school, he holds masters in finance, also the Bachelor of Commerce in that's accounting option from the University of Nairobi. That the nominee has over 20 years of work experience in the public service after working in the following institutions. He was a member of Board of Directors of Agricultural Development Corporation between 2018 and 2020. He was advisor to the governor of Nairobi, that is in 2016. The nominee was also a member of parliament for the Rangwe constituency, 2008 up to 2013. The nominee was an accountant in the Ministry of Local Government between 1999 and 2007. He was also an accountant of the Londro Motors Limited between 1996 and 97, and in the office of the President between 1992 and 1997. That the nominee, in accordance with the Article 78, subsection 1 and 2 of our Constitution, is eligible for an appointment of a state office since he is a Kenyan citizen born on December 28, 1966 in Homa Bay County and does not hold dual citizenship. Madam Speaker, the nominee meets the requirements of Chapter 6 of our Constitution on leadership and integrity, having obtained the clearance from the EACC, the KRA, the DCI, ORPP, and also HELP. That the nominee has never been dismissed from office under Article 75 of our Constitution on conflict of interest, so that is Article 75(1), under Article 76, 77, and 78 of our Constitution. Madam Speaker, that the nominee demonstrated the knowledge of the typical administrative and technical issues touching on the office of the chairperson as the requisite abilities, his qualification and experience to serve as the chairperson for Kenya Fish and Marketing Authority. That there was no memoranda received contesting his nomination and the suitability for his appointment. Honorable Speaker, after considering the suitability, the capacity, the integrity of the nominee, and pursuant to Section 8(2) of the Public Appointment, that's Parliamentary Approval, Act 2011, number 33 of 2011, the committee recommends that the National Assembly approves the nomination of the Honorable Martin Otieno Ogindo for the appointment of the chairperson, Fish Marketing Authority. Madam Speaker, the Honorable nominee, the Honorable Martin Otieno Ogindo. Madam Speaker, like I said, he appeared before us. He demonstrated a lot of knowledge, despite the fact that he's an accountant, he's a finance person by profession, Madam Speaker. He demonstrated these managerial skills and also his abilities to be nominated as a chairperson of Kenya Fish Marketing Authority. Madam Speaker, the honorable member, Mr. Ogindo, we even asked him a question that how is he going to handle the position or the works of the position which he's been appointed, yet he is a finance person. And the nominee, Madam Speaker, said that he culturally and traditionally he eats fish, and he was born and brought up in areas where fish and fish farming is the whole business or the business throughout his life. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Ogindo served in this House between 2007 to 2013, and he was also the chairman of the Budget and Appropriation. Madam Speaker, I was saying the Honorable Ogindo served as a member of parliament for Rangwe, and not only a member of parliament in this House between 2007 and 2013, but also as the chairperson of the Budget and Appropriation Committee. Madam Speaker, the Fish Marketing Authority under the Ministry of Blue Economy is very, very important, Madam Speaker, because, Madam Speaker, the blue economy is a new thing in the new economies, and Madam Speaker, there is a lot in this new sector. It requires Madam Speaker, that we have this chair to be in a position immediately so that they are able to make sure it markets the marketing of our fish, especially in the areas of Lake Victoria, the Indian auction, Madam Speaker, is fast-tracked. Madam Speaker, the blue economy sector in many countries, in other countries, is contributing big to over 60% of the GDPs. It's only that in Kenya, Madam Speaker, that we have not exploited the blue economy space in our country. We are, as a committee, Madam Speaker, we believe that upon approval of this honorable member, as the chairperson of this very important department, Madam Speaker, he is going to move, together with other stakeholders, to move our blue economy space, Madam Speaker, into the greater heights of exploration. Madam Speaker, as we speak, our fish in Lake Victoria, I got a communication this morning from farmers in Kisumu. Last evening, they have lost millions of money because of a mysterious threat of fish in Lake Victoria, Madam Speaker. And the faster we approve this chair, is going to team up together with other stakeholders to check as to what really happened in Lake Victoria. It's not the first time. Last year, the farmers also, they lost a lot of fish. We want to find out what is happening. Madam Speaker, there is a lot of illegal fishing in Indian auction. Together with other stakeholders, together with the ministry, the chairperson, they are going to team up to make sure that the illegal fishing, the regulations which are under consideration in this House, Madam Speaker, are also fast-tracked to make sure that the fish farmers in this country, Madam Speaker, benefit from their economic activity of fishing. So, Madam Speaker, I want to seek members of this House that they consider the Honorable Martin Otieno Okindo on this appointment. And Madam Speaker, I now want to beg that I move this motion and ask the House to adopt this report, Madam Speaker, and ask my very able Vice Chair, the Honorable Marwa Gitayama, to second. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, asante sana kwa nafasi nzuri hii ambaye ni nafasi ya kipekee kuafiki mswada huu ambao umeelezwa nyumba hii kwa namna ya ufasaha kabisa na kiongozi wa kamati ya maji ambaye vile vile inaangalia mambo ya unyunyizaji wa maji, vile vile pia inaangalia mambo ambayo yanahusiana na ukulima wa chini ya bahari na ndani ya bahari ikiwemo fuo zake na bahari. Na vile vile pia Mheshimiwa Spika, kamati hii inaangazia mambo ambayo yanahusiana na uchumi samawati. Mheshimiwa Spika, niseme kwamba mhusika ambaye ni Mheshimiwa Martin Otieno Ogindo ambaye alikuja mbele ya kamati hii, na kwa ruhusa yako Mheshimiwa Spika, kamati hii iliweza kukaa naye ikizingatia sheria za nchi, ikizingatia na sheria ambazo zimetungwa na bunge, ikizingatia yale yote ambaye ni ya muhimu ya kwamba akaweze kuonekana kwamba anaweza akafaa katika nafasi hiyo ambaye ameteuliwa na Mheshimiwa Rais, ili akaweze kuisukuma nchi hii na sana sana upande huu wa uchumi samawati. Mheshimiwa Spika, tulimhoji, amekuja mbele yetu, amependeza katika mazungumzo yake, tofauti na kwamba ni mtu amesoma na masomo yake sio masomo ya juu, ni masomo ambaye yamefikia kabisa kelele chake. Tumeweza kama kamati tuliweza kujitosheleza na maelezo aliyotoa Mheshimiwa Martin Ogindo na ufahamu wake wa mambo ambayo yanahusiana na uchumi samawati, mambo yanayohusiana na uvuvi, mambo yanayohusiana na sheria zote ambazo yeye mwenyewe angefikiria pamoja na zile ambazo zimependekezwa kwamba zingeweza kusaidia sekta hii iweze kutoa ajira, iweze kuhakikisha kwamba nchi hii imeweza kupata rasilimali na uchumi ambao umekomaa, ambao ni uchumi mpya kwa mambo ambayo yanahusiana na uchumi samawati. Kwa hivyo, Mheshimiwa Spika, tulisadiki maelezo yake, na vile vile pia Mheshimiwa Spika, ikumbukwe kwamba Martin Otieno Ogindo ambaye ni mwenyeji na mkazi wa Homa Bay, na Mheshimiwa Spika, nichukue nafasi hii pia kumpongeza kwa sababu naye vile vile ni shemeji yangu. Ni vizuri niseme hilo kwa sababu naye ni shemeji yangu, kwamba ameweza ni kweli Mheshimiwa Spika, nimeoa katika kaunti hiyo ya Homa Bay. Kwa hiyo nasema kwamba ameweza kusimamia watu wa maeneo hayo, kuonyesha kwamba anaweza kufanya kazi hiyo, kwa sababu watu wa eneo hilo kwa wingi shughuli zao wanajishughulisha na mambo ya samaki, mambo ya uvuvi, mambo ya kilimo cha samaki ambacho sasa hivi kimekuwa ni kilimo ambacho ni kipya na kimeendelea kupatia nchi hii fedha nyingi na kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba watoto wetu wanasoma na kwamba nchi inaendelea mbele. Kwa hivyo, Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nasema kwamba tumemwangalia vizuri na ikapendeza pia wananchi wa Kenya, kwa sababu tulipopeana nafasi kwamba bunge hili lipeana nafasi kwamba mtu yoyote ambaye ana swali lolote au ana shauku yoyote kumhusu Mheshimiwa Ogindo ajitokeze, hapa kuwepo, Mheshimiwa Spika, mtu yoyote ambaye alijitokeza. Hiyo inaonyesha wazi kwamba hata nchi nzima inakubaliana naye, na tumpongeze katika uteuzi huu. Tuseme Mheshimiwa Rais alimchagua mtu ambaye ana uwezo na tajriba ya kuweza kuendesha eneo hili kwa namna ambaye itaweza kufanya nchi hii kaweze kuwa ya kutamaniwa na nchi zingine. Kwa hivyo, Mheshimiwa Spika, naomba niachie hapo nikisema kwamba mimi kama alivyosema chairman wangu, yani mwenyekiti wa kamati hii, ninaafiki na kuomba bunge hili kwamba liweze kuunga mswada huu mkono na tukaweza kumpitisha huyu bwana Mheshimiwa Martin Ogindo Otieno akaweze kuendesha sekta hii iliyo mpya, ili nayo ikaweze kutupatia ajira watoto wetu na kuweza kuendeleza chumi za jamii nyingi katika nchi hii, maeneo ya Pwani, maeneo ya Turukana, maeneo ya Kisumu na maeneo yote ambaye yana hiyo zawadi ambayo Mwenyezi Mungu alitupatia ya maeneo ya maji ambayo yanaweza kutupatia rasilimali na kutuendeleza kama jamii. Mheshimiwa Spika, ninaafiki na ninakushukuru kwa nafasi hii. Asante sana.
Thank you. I now propose a motion that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation in its report on the vetting of a nominee for the appointment as the chairperson of the Kenya Fish Marketing Authority, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 12 April 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 201(1)(a) and 2 of the Fisheries Management and Development Act 2016 and Section 8(1) of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of the Honorable Martin Otieno Ogindo as the chairperson of the Kenya Fish Marketing Authority. Member for Baringo.
Thank
Member for Baringo County, Honorable Florence Jematia.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I concur that my brother also comes from Baringo. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity, and I want to concur with Chair of Committee of Blue Economy that Honorable Ogindo, as a chairperson of Kenya Fish Marketing Authority, is the rightful chair and given as per the presidential appointment to be the right to head this parastatal or authority. Madam Speaker, this is a government that has considered development as the key agenda. And the new authority that deals with fish, and especially matters to do with water and the blue economy, is something that is being considered in this century that as one of the main key development of the world. Madam Speaker, if you realize that the world today depends on something like irrigation or irrigating fish, there are many ways of doing and marketing and growing fish as one of the key economical agenda. And we thank the President for considering Honorable Gindo and giving him the opportunity to serve Kenyans. Honorable Gindo is one person who has proven to be a loyal, hardworking, and a very able leader of this country. He was once a member, an elected member, I think he was a senator or National Assembly, I think. And we are very much aware that he was able to lead his people, and given this opportunity as the President has given him, we want to concur and congratulate him as he takes up his position. I support and I say thank you.
Thank you, Member for Baringo. Member for Emurua Dikir, not in the House. Member for Nyeri Town, Honorable Maina Madenge.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support. And Honorable Speaker, this blue economy is one of the new areas of growth for our country. And the potential besides the established areas like the coast and the lake region, and even in places like Lake Naivasha, which are much more nearer home to you, the potential is very big. And therefore, it behoves us as a parliament to support this industry, and especially the appointment of people who will bring in value addition to where we are. It is imperative that this also holds the potential for new employment opportunities for our young people, which is one of the areas that we know as a country we are struggling to come to terms with. And therefore, Madam Speaker, the kind of experience and knowledge that this appointment comes and brings to the board is of immense benefit. So, Madam Speaker, I support.
Thank you. Member for Malindi.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia fursa hii. Ninaposimama hapa Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka niunge mkono yale maneno ambayo mwenyekiti wetu ameweza kuzungumza. Mimi niko katika kamati ya uchumi samawati na maji, na huyu ndugu yetu Martin Otieno alipokuja katika interview tuliweza kumchunguza Mheshimiwa Spika, tumempekua Mheshimiwa Spika, tukampiga misasa na kuhakikisha ya kwamba ameambatana ama amefata zile sheria na kanuni za kuweza kuandikwa kazi katika Kenya hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, kama vile mwanakiti wetu alivyozungumza, Martin kazi yake inajizungumzia yeye mwenyewe. Amekuwa ni director katika Agriculture Development Corporation, amekuwa ni mshauri kwa gavana wa Nairobi mwaka 2016, amekuwa ni mbunge Warangwe constituency. Kwa hivyo ni mtu ambaye ako na uzoefu wa kazi za umma. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa ndugu yetu Martin ako na ujuzi, ako na taaluma katika masuala katika sekta ya umma. Katika mahojiano yetu, Mheshimiwa Spika, ndugu yetu Martin alituhakikishia ya kwamba atafanya kazi na washikadau wote ili kuhakikisha kwamba hii sekta ya uchumi samawati imeweza kuinuka. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi kama kiongozi wa kutoka Pwani namkaribisha kwa mikono miwili na tunampatia baraka zetu, na naomba viongozi wenzangu pia tuweze kuungana, kwa sababu uchumi samawati, Mheshimiwa Spika, ndio ni mambo ambayo yanaongelelewa katika dunia hii hivi sasa. Mimi kama mtu kutoka Pwani tunataka, kwa sababu kule Pwani kwetu, Mheshimiwa Spika, tuko na samaki wengi ambao mpaka leo hii hawajajulikana market yake hapa ndani ya Kenya, katika bara la Afrika na katika nchi nzima. Na ndio maana ndugu yangu huyu mimi ninapomkaribisha nataka tufanye kazi pamoja, kwa sababu kule Pwani kuna samaki ambao wanaitwa red snapper. Kilo moja ya red snapper, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni shilingi 500. Kuna samaki kama prawns. Kilo moja ya prawns, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni shilingi 1200. Kuna samaki, kuna octopus, tuko na tuna, tuko na lobsters, ambao wote samaki hawa, Mheshimiwa Spika, wako na bei nzuri, na tunaweza sisi tukafanya mauzo mema ili kuweza kuinua uchumi wa Kenya yetu. Na ni wakati sisi kama Wakenya, Mheshimiwa Spika, tuanze kuzungumza kuhusu masuala ya samaki. Samaki wanatusaidia sisi, samaki wanasaidia afya yetu. Na kwa wale ambao hawajui, kuna samaki ambao anaitwa pweza. Nafikiria wengi wenu mnamjua. Kwa wale ambao hawajui muhimu wa pweza, munifate baada ya bunge niwaambie maana ya pweza ni nini. Ndio maana anasema umuhimu wa samaki tuweze kuzingatia katika Kenya hii. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Sijui pweza tumle mzima ama tunywe supu. The member for Molo, Honorable Kuria Kimani.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think the Honorable Member for Malindi should have been given more time to explain to us the importance of that fish called pweza. But I rise, Madam Speaker, to support this particular nominee, a former member of Parliament, a distinguished, educated gentleman of this country who holds a Master of Science in Finance, who is a learned fellow with a master's, with CPA, a really educated and experienced gentleman to lead the Kenya Fish Marketing Authority. He's going to come to lead the Kenya Fishing Marketing Authority at a time when discussions across the world are now going under the discussion of blue economy. And talking about how do we make sure that we exploit our water bodies, our oceans, our rivers and our lakes to make maximum benefit, economic benefit to the people, to the country, but at the same time make it sustainable. And Madam Speaker, one of the questions I've always asked myself is that when you go along the coastal towns, and especially even in our country, whether you go to Mombasa, whether you go to Malindi, whether you go to Lamu, despite the heavy investment or the great returns that we get from this maritime and this, for example, fish in our oceans, do the local communities along those areas actually get to benefit? Because what you end up seeing is very good establishments, whether it is the best hotels around Wasini Island, or whether it is the most exclusive resorts in Malindi or in Lamu. But when you go to the local communities surrounding those establishments, you find that they live in very bad poverty. You find very many social ills, such as drug abuse, such as sexual abuse, along these particular communities or towns. So I think it's also a challenge that we have to think as a country, even as we go towards blue economy and going to exploit all these oceans for the maximum benefit of the country and of the world, how do we make sure that the communities that have over the years stayed along our coastlines, the communities that protect the prawns and all those fish that cost a lot of money are actually also taken care of and taken along. Honorable Speaker, the Kenya Kwanza administration, it has an agenda of building dams and water ponds across the country. And I think, for example, my constituency is going to hold one of the largest dams in the country, Itare Dam. But this discussion this afternoon, I'm thinking that perhaps we should make it mandatory that even as we do those dams, that we have fish farming as a mandatory component of these contracts that we are doing for these dam constructions, so that we don't just benefit from the water that we collect from these dams, but we are also able to grow our own fish. And you know, I've always held the thinking that one of the most cheapest things to produce is, for example, fish. Because once now you get the fingerlings, you put them into the water, and they have their whole, and you plant that ecosystem in terms of what they eat. You plant those plants. Then you don't need to take care of them anymore. So I think that it is time that even as we do the dams, and we do these water ponds, that we make sure that we include a fish component in them, so that from the onset we're doing the construction, when that water is coming there, we know that we not just benefit from the water that we're going to collect from those dams or from those water ponds, but also get to have the benefit of doing fish farming in them. Madam Speaker, you know, again, the issue of blue economy is very special in strategic sustainable development goals number 14 about the sustainability of our oceans. So it's really to thank the Committee on Blue Economy for this vetting exercise. Wish the Honorable Martin Otieno Ogindo the best. And also, that reminds me, Madam Speaker, there was, I think, a question or a statement that was sought this week, I think, by the Honorable Atandi about fish coming from China and how that fish become cheaper than our local fish. And these are some of the conversations we must begin to ask ourselves as a country. Like how fish can be grown in China and come all the way to Kenya and become more expensive than fish that we're harvesting from whether it is our Indian Ocean here or from Lake Victoria. And I'm really keen to listen to the answer that this committee is going to give to the question that was asked, I think, by the Honorable Watandi, how fish can become cheaper in having come all the way from China than our own fish here in Kenya. In those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I want to endorse the nomination of one Honorable Martin Atiende Ogindo as a chairperson for the Kenya Fish Marketing Authority. Thank you.
Thank you, Member for Molo. Member for Kericho County.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand to support the appointment of Honorable Martin Otieno Ogindo as the chairperson of the Kenya Fish Marketing Authority. Madam Speaker, I don't know much of him, but from what the members have said and from reading about him, is best placed for this position. Fish is very important for us as a country. Fish being a protein is good, and especially now that we have so many cases of lifestyle diseases, and we are going for the white meat, that is fish and maybe poultry. And for that, I want to believe this appointee will make sure that we have so much fish in the ponds. And I also believe when it comes to marketing of our fish, he will do that so that we don't import, but we do more of export. Madam Speaker, we have our waters. We have the Lake Victoria. There has been a challenge in terms of the boundaries, which we don't have. Fish cannot know where is the boundary, so that our Kenyan fish, the fish that are actually in Kenya, they swim all the way to Tsed and to Yuchi. But we really want to have more in Kenya. But now, and I want to believe this person will consider having our fishermen also having the necessary equipment so that much of our fish will be able to have them. And Madam Speaker, we will also want to have the other fishing, the fishing waters. In the lakes, we have the Lake Turkana, we have Lake Naivasha, among the many others. Let's have it as a serious economic activity that will not only earn people and money for their use, but I also believe we can earn foreign exchange from the same. So for Honorable Martin, I would want him to bring all the skills. Looking at his name, I also believe he must have done fishing when he was very young. And indeed, he should be having skills on how to improve on the same, so that we would want to see this activity move from being a basic to the next level. And Madam Speaker, we have issues of sexual harassment and sexual issues, even in the fishing we had the other day in the fishing industry. I believe with the coming in of Honorable Martin, things will have to be looked into and things will change. And maybe to add on that, Madam Speaker, we have many of our youth who are not employed. This industry will employ many of them. We are not only looking for the white-collar jobs, but we are looking for other ways to have our youth, not only youth, our people in Kenya to be employed. And therefore, this industry will actually be one of the areas that will employ our people. So with this, I want to believe Honorable Martin Otieno will turn things to the right direction. I am supporting his nomination. And thank you, Madam Speaker.
Asante, mbunge wa Matuga.
Asante sana, Madam Speaker. Kwanza nitoe shukurani kwa Madam Speaker kunipatia fursa hii adimu sana. Na pili, niweze kuzungumzia kwanza juu ya anayezungumziwa leo, Bwana Martin Ogindo, akiwa mwenyekiti wa halmashauri ya ukuzaji na usambazaji na uzaji wa samaki. Mheshimiwa Speaker, mimi nilikuwa kwa ile kamati ambayo iliweza kuzungumza na yeye, na tukaona ni mtu ambaye ana tajriba inayofaa. Ukiangalia masomo yake sio ya kubahatisha. Martin Ogindo ni mtu ambaye alisomea zile shule ambazo zinatajika hapa Kenya, mojawapo ikiwa ni Alliance High School ambayo yeye alipitia. Kwa hivyo moja kwa moja tunaona kwamba ni mtu sio kama wale labda ungeanza kubahatisha makaratasi yake na kuangalia kuyapiga msasa mara 2 3, lakini moja kwa moja ulikuwa unajua ni mtu ambaye anazungumza, anafanya, anatenda, ana uadilifu kulingana hata na ule msingi ambao alikuwa nao kutoka akiwa shule ya upili. Martin Ogindo pia katika ile taaluma yake ambayo ukiangalia ni uhasibu, inafaa sana katika sehemu hii, ofisi hii ambayo ameweza kuteuliwa, na ni mtu kulingana na masuala tuliyoweza kumtahini kuona kwamba ataweza kuleta ufahamu na mbinu mpya mbadala ambazo zitaweza kukuza sekta hii ya samaki. Ningetaka nizungumzie kwa kina kidogo juu ya samaki. Ni jambo ambalo limeweza kuregesha nchi nyuma kutoka tupate uhuru, kwamba tukizungumzia samaki mara nyingi tunaangalia upande ule wa Ziwa Victoria. Tukijua kwamba Ziwa Victoria tumemiliki 6% peke yake ya ile ziwa, na kwa hali yoyote hatuwezi kuwa na samaki wa kutosha wa kutumia hapa nchini na hatimaye kuweza kupeleka nchi za ughaibuni. Pia baada ya hapo tukaweza kuwa na wizara ya samaki, lakini la kuhuzunisha, Madam Speaker, ni kwamba badala ya kuweza kuboresha samaki ambao hawana gharama yoyote, ambao wako katika bahari ya Hindi, ambako tuko na zaidi ya karibu kilomita 600, na kwenda ndani kama sikosei zaidi ya kilomita zingine 200. Samaki hawa ni bure, hawalishwi, hawana gharama, hawapatiwi dawa, hawapatiwi chakula. Lakini la kuhuzunisha ni kwamba Wizara ya Samaki ilipobuniwa ikawa inaanza kuchimba vidimbwi ambao ni gharama, kuambia watu kununua chakula wa samaki ndio walishe waweze kuuza, ili hali kuna samaki ambao unahitaji ndoana ama mtumbwi ama boti ile ya kisasa uweze kupata samaki kwa bure bilashi na kuweza kutumia na kuuza. Samaki hawa kwa sababu serikali iliyopita haikuweza kuitilia nguvu, imeishia kwamba ndio wanaovuliwa na Wachina kama tulivyosikia hapa, na baadaye tunauziwa sisi ikiwa ni rasilimali yetu. Kwa hivyo ni tamaa yangu, ni maoni yangu na matumaini katika Bwana Martin Ogindo ambaye anapatiwa nafasi hii sasa kuweza kuangazia hasa maeneo ya pwani ambao tuna samaki ambao hawana gharama yoyote. Sioni ikiwa tutakuwa tunatumia fedha vizuri za nchi za mwananchi kugharamia kukuza samaki, na ili hali tuna samaki tayari ambao wako Mwenyezi Mungu ambao ametubariki katika nchi hii yetu ya Kenya. Tusisahau samaki hawa ambao wako maeneo ya baharini pia, mbali na kuwa ni chakula, kuna samaki ambao ni dawa na inaweza kutusaidia sana nchi hii, hasa wazee ambao wako katika bunge na wengineo. Ukiangalia samaki kama vile pweza, samaki kama vile ngisi, ninajua kwamba watu wengi wanapoweza kuja maeneo ya pwani hutafuta supu ya pweza na supu ya ngisi kwa sababu ni dawa na ni bure. Badala ya kuwa tuanze kununua madawa gali ambayo mara nyingi unasikia labda kuna mtu ameweza kuzimia, amepoteza maisha yake akiangaliwa, askari wakija wanakuta kulikuwa na vidonge pale sijui vina rangi ya blue. Hakuna hata historia ambayo ishawahi kuzungumziwa kwamba ambaye amepata tiba ya supu ya ngisi ama supu ya pweza kwamba ameweza kuzimia na kupoteza maisha yake. Kwa hivyo ni wakati ambapo natumai Bwana Martin Ogindo, kwa sababu pia tulipokuwa tunamtahini tulimuuliza kama anajua tiba kama hizi za kiasili za bure ambazo hazina madhara yoyote, na akakubali kwamba anazifahamu. Basi katika kukuza, sio tu kwa sababu ya kupeleka nje, lakini kwanza kuweza kufanya utafiti zaidi ya kuona ni vipi samaki kama hawa wanaweza kuwekwa katika mitambo, wakaweza kuhifadhiwa na wakaweza kusambazwa kila mahali, na wale walio na matatizo madaktari wetu wakaweza kuyafanyia utafiti na kuona hata kama labda mbali na kunywa supu, kama itakuwa ni tembe, lakini ziwe ambazo hazina madhara yoyote. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, katika swala zima la samaki tuko na uchumi ambao ungeweza kusaidia nchi hii ikiwa serikali ambayo na imani kwa kuteua Martin Ogindo ameweza kugundua hilo, wataweza kutilia mkazo maeneo ya pwani. Moja kwa moja litaweza kuleta ajira, litaweza kuleta fedha, litaweza kuleta fedha za kigeni, na hasa upande wa utafiti wa hizi tiba zitaweza kusaidia zaidi. Mheshimiwa Spika, nashukuru na ninapongeza na kuunga mkono nafasi ya wenyekiti aweze bunge hili kumpatia Bwana Martin Ogindo. Asante.
Wale ambao walikuwa wafuate Mheshimiwa wa Malindi sasa watajua ugonjwa ni gani kulingana na Mheshimiwa Tandaza. MP for Sotik, Honorable Francis Sigei, not in the house. We will have the nominated member, Dorothy Kiara.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I too stand to support this nominee to be the chairman, Kenya Fish Marketing Authority, Martin Otieno Ogindo. Madam Speaker, I am a member of Water, Sanitation, Irrigation, Fisheries and Blue Economy. Madam Speaker, the nominee was presented to us after His Excellency forwarded his name to this House for consideration. I want to state today here, this nominee, Martin Otieno Ogindo, is highly qualified for this job. He has a master's in science, finance option. He has worked with the Agriculture Corporation. He has also worked as an advisor to the Governor Nairobi. He too has been a member of this Honorable House as a member of Parliament. Madam Speaker, on top of all that, he has the mastery of the sector that he has been proposed or nominated to be in charge. Madam Speaker, he comes from the Lake Region, and we do not have any doubts in our mind that this is the person who is best placed for this position. Madam Speaker, as we speak today, the blue economy is more or less a new sector of the economy of this country. And I know His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, is very passionate about it. And as we speak today, Madam Speaker, it's important to know that when this nominee was before us, he was even able to tell us the different types of fish that are found in Lake Victoria and the different type of fish which are also found in the oceans. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I want to support my chairman and say this is a person who will do a good job in this sector. Madam Speaker, it is important also to note that he is ready for work because as we speak, the government has put up very many landing sites. These are sites where when fish is collected, they'll be taken for processing, and so that we can also be in the front line of importing our fish to other countries for export, Madam Speaker, sorry. Madam Speaker, Mr. Ogindo has traversed this country, and as at now, he knows all these landing sites. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I want to support the chair of Blue Economy and say Mr. Ogindo Otieno Martin is very suitable for this position. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Member for West Mugirango, Honorable Stephen Mogaka.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to also add my voice to the recommendation that Honorable Martin Ogindo is best suited to head this very potentially lucrative fish exporting authority. I say so particularly because blue economy is the future, and it is the growing economy that this country must take advantage of to make our citizens make profits, grow their assets, and also create employment. I, in particular, celebrate that Honorable Martin Ogindo comes from a fish-growing community. So organically, he has all knowledge about fish from the time the eggs are hatched until we have fish on our supper or lunch plate. And therefore, he has both local and academic knowledge about fish, fish farming, and fish marketing. Knowing that Honorable Martin is also a business graduate, leaves no doubt, therefore, that this is a candidate who knows the waters that he is going to navigate. I am particularly keen about this appointment because from the lake region where my constituency of West Mogrango lies, we have natural rain throughout the year. And we have a lot of wetlands which so far are not economically exploited to the benefit of the locals, because our communities have turned to growing trees on wetlands. And with this appointment and assurance of a fish market, then it behooves upon us, particularly those of us who come from the lake basin, the rain belt, to encourage our farmers, our fish farmers, to create ponds that will grow and farm fresh fish that will hit the market and make money alternative from farming. I say so, Madam Speaker, knowing that arable farming or tea farming and cash crop farming from the region where I come from has become a bit frustrating. Because as I speak, fertilizer prices or cost of fertilizer has suddenly been deducted from tea farmers, leaving them with no income in this month of Easter. And therefore, I want to encourage my farmers to consider fish farming as an alternative. And now that we are assured of a professional head of the marketing agency of fish, I am sure that Kenya will be one of those countries that will be producing and selling fish to the world market. And I therefore encourage even our Ministry of Foreign Affairs to consider having serious trade attaches in our missions who understand that fish is now a new crop that is, or a new export that is likely to be available from Kenya, so that the countries where we have missions, we want trade officers in those regions to assist Honorable Martin in selling Kenya fish to the countries that they have been deputed to represent Kenya. And above all, fish, Madam Speaker, is white meat. And medics and nutritionists are advising that some of us, as we grow older, should avoid red meat. And therefore, the alternative is fish, which therefore also guarantees local market for fish, besides the medicinal value that the coastal parliamentarians have advised us. Since I'm going to committee meeting in Mombasa, I will sure try and test that that soup to see whether when I come back itakuwa sawa. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support this motion.
Thank you. Member for Wajir North, Honorable Ibrahim.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I read the report, and it brings two perspectives to the fore: the credibility, competence, qualifications of members of parliament, both present and former members of parliament, and fishery as a livelihood. Madam Speaker, outside this House, members of parliament have been depicted as people who are illiterate, not competent as such to hold any public office. Today, I'm impressed. In front of us, we are approving a former member of parliament who is well educated. We are no longer illiterate as perceived. Some even see us not only illiterate, they see members of parliament as innumerate, that they can't even count 1, 2, 3. That's why we earned funny names, funny tags in the name of MPs, that we are undeserving of any remuneration, salary befitting our status, Madam Speaker. I'm impressed. The appointment of Hon Martin Otieno Ogindo proves that members of parliament are up to the task and are well educated to deliver services to citizens of this country. The second thing, Madam Speaker, is on Kenya Fisheries Authority. That is a very important livelihood cutting across the country, the breadth and length of this country, and it is important it gets all the facilitations necessary to make sure that it is operationalized. I envy, on a positive note, Madam Speaker, that Kenya Camels Authority is not being debated, in as much as it is the livelihood of over 4 million Kenyans in 70% of our landmass. However, this is a very important sector. I'm sure we are yet to exploit our capacity in terms of production and exploiting fishing. Madam Speaker, I'm impressed that honorable member is qualified and conforms to the required statutes of our law. So there is nothing much to bespeak or nothing much to discuss on his credibility in terms of qualification. He's so competent, I do accept. Mine is how much are we into fishing and making sure that we support that livelihood at the communities that depend on it. I know there are various species of fishes that are very expensive and yet unexploited. There is this type of fish they call trout in Mount Kenya. I'm made to understand it's only the royal family that normally come over and do fish and export it to their motherland. A very expensive type of fish. There is a fish farm in Sagana, the same fish. They call it trout, a very expensive fish. It is time, I think, we protect our aquatic system. We are complaining that China is flooding our country with the import of fishes. It may be the same fish that have been fished out from our shoreline. It's about our capacity. Do Kenyans own ships? That is the question. Do we have a ship at least big enough, sufficient enough to do fishing so that our market, we can exploit our own domestic market before we think of marketing? Madam Speaker, I think it is time to think about handling storage facilities and trying to improve the fishing sector to a larger extent so that we can reap the requisite services and foreign exchange we want for our country. With those few remarks, I'm happy to be part of the approval of my former colleague, Honorable Martin Otieno. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Wajir North. Member for Emuhaya.
Honorable Speaker, having gone through the report, Martin Otieno qualifies to take over the position that he's being vetted for or has been vetted for. But I would quickly want to draw, Honorable Speaker, your attention to the situation within the fish industry and the tasks that await Oduor, because this is an area that has been very, very sentimental and very important to the people living around the lake, the people on the coastal line of Kenya, while at the same time fish farming has now propagated itself into the interior. And that's why the government at one point had a policy whereby every sub-county, every constituency would create fish ponds to promote fish farming in this country. It is coming into this position at a time when on Lake Victoria, the Luangni beach has been removed, and now there's promotion of the Dunga beach on the lake. He's coming to this office at a time when the deep sea fishing on the Indian Ocean is no longer there, and we cannot pride ourselves in getting the high quality level fish from the ocean which we can export to other countries. And therefore, he should be ready as he takes over this job to deal with all these things, including and not limited to marketing of fish on both Lake Victoria and the Indian Ocean. Honorable Speaker, where we see the real fishermen not getting the real value money for what they do, because the middlemen, especially
who are simply waiting to carry the fish away are actually reaping more from the fish that is gotten from the lakes in this country, especially Lake Victoria, than the fishermen themselves. We should see him get ready to prepare to make sure that the shilling earned from fishing benefits the fishermen themselves and the mamas who are involved in the trade of fish within and along the lake. Also, at the same point, there has been a lot of harassment, intimidation, there's been a lot of sexual harassment, and so on in the fish industry, which has been actually enforced by several legends, myths that are told by the people around the lake that you must perform this and that before you get the fish. Otieno is going to face this challenge and must promise us that he's going to do away with these harassments that the women who trade in fish are facing around the lake. Honorable Speaker, fish farming has now spread countrywide. The Otieno must be ready to make sure that the increased fish consumption within the country, given that many people are now drifting away from the red meat and white meat, which fish is part of, is very popular. He must be able to promote the fish farming countrywide so that it's not only limited to the lakes and rivers and also the ocean, but it can also be practiced within the countryside through the ponds which were developed by government. Most of them are now lying as dangerous ponds around the country. This is what he should be involved in. Marketing of fish, I think I've spoken on that. I also want to say that Otieno must be very ready to deal with modernization of our fishing industry so that people can pride in fishing as an industry the way it used to be. And that's the pride that we want him to bring to this country and within this industry. Honorable Speaker, the innovation, in fact, I stopped eating fish completely because I could not separate or differentiate between the Chinese fish and the fish from the Lake Victoria. This is a matter that this officer must deal with so that we completely stop the importation of fish from China, which has demoralized many of the fish farmers, demoralized many of the fishermen on the lake, and demoralized many of the fish eaters like myself, so that we are assured that the fish we are eating is not fish from China. Because the fish from China, as it comes here, Honorable Speaker, it comes with very many other connotative understandings around it and myths on the type of foods it eats before it arrives to this country. I don't want to belabor to go into the depth of what we hear about that fish. So unless he blocks the proliferation of fish from outside and defend the fishing industry so that the local Kenyans and market can enjoy, then those are some of the tasks that are awaiting these individuals as I support him to take office. Finally, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that the Lake Victoria is thoroughly infested by the water hyacinth. So that's another area, because you cannot get this fish from Victoria until you deal with the water hyacinth, that you'll have to deal with, so that the hyacinth is removed. The efforts that were done by governments, previous government administration to remove the hyacinths have since stopped. And that hyacinth, once it takes over the lake looks like it is a field where you can play football and fish does not thrive. There's another model type of fishing that has arrived on Lake Victoria, and this one is called fish caging. I don't know if you have heard about it, Honorable Speaker. And this is the type that brought about later on aspects of fish dying en masse. And we don't know whether it's the caging that has polluted the lake or the lake itself polluted the caging. This is a matter that's also lying on his table to deal with so that this industry is promoted. Honorable Speaker, I chose to speak on the tasks and things that affect fishermen in this country, which our very able nominee approved here by Parliament will have to deal with as he arrives in office and sanitize this industry. And for that matter, I want to thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I support this particular candidate being nominated. Thank you.
Thank you. Mbunge wa Mombasa.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii adhimu kuweza kuzungumzia chairman wetu, mwenyekiti mpya ambaye ameteuliwa kama chairman wa Fishing Marketing Authority. Kwanza nachukua fursa hii kumpongeza sana Mheshimiwa Martin Ogindo. Nikiangalia katika maelezo yake, alikuwa ni mwenzetu katika bunge hili, alikuwa ni kiongozi mchapakazi, na nikiangalia katika masomo yake kweli anastahili kupata cheo hichi kwa sababu ni mengi ambayo amefanyia taifa hili. Nampongeza sana na namkaribisha katika soko la samaki. Mheshimiwa Spika, kama mama Mombasa, sote twajua blue economy sehemu kubwa imeshika sehemu yetu ya wapwani. Na wavuvi wetu ndio katika watu ambao ni maskini sana katika taifa hili. Wanaingia baharini kwa baridi, wanavua samaki, lakini wakitoa samaki baharini huku nje pia hawana soko. Unapata mvuvi ametoa samaki za kutosha, lakini atakaa nazo bandarini, hakuna mnunuzi, samaki zinaharibika. Mimi nataka nimweleze ndugu yetu Martin ambaye ndio chairman wetu, angalie wavuvi wetu, hakikishe kuwa wanapata vifaa vya kuvulia samaki, wanapata fishing gears, na alivyosema mmoja wetu hapa ni kweli, wanahitaji wawe hata na yale maboti, jahazi ya kuingia baharini kuweza kuvua samaki. Wengi wakiingia na mitumbwi kule baharini, maskini wengine hawatoki kwa sababu ya yale maji yalivyo mazito kule ndani yanapiga, na wao wana mitumbwi tu kwa sababu ndio kitu ambacho wameweza kukipata kwa hali duni ya maisha walionayo. Kwa hiyo mimi naweza kumuelezea ndugu yetu Martin, chairman mpya, aweze kuangalia wavuvi wapate boat ya kuweza kuingia ndani kabisa kutoa samaki. Jambo lingine ambalo nataka nimuelezee, nilikuwa naangalia dokumenti hii na katika ripoti hii ambayo iko hapa imenihakikishia kuwa mwalimu wangu aliyokuwa akinifunza geography Kemu University alinielezea mambo ya kweli, na nimethibitisha kufuatana na ripoti hii ya leo. Ripoti hii imeonyesha hakika kuwa China wanavua samaki zetu kwa wingi sana kule deep sea, na ni sehemu ambayo iko katika anga za Kenya, ni sehemu ambayo iko katika taifa la Kenya. Mimi nataka nimwelezee ndugu yetu Martin ambaye ndio chairman, aweze kufuatilia na serikali kuhakikisha kuwa Wakenya sehemu yetu ya kuvua samaki tuvue sisi wenyewe, tuweze kuuza sisi wenyewe samaki zetu hapa ndani Kenya na kule nje. Manake Mchina anavua katika anga zetu sisi, anatoa samaki kwa wingi sana, kisha anakuja na tuuzia sisi. Mimi nitajiuliza tu swali, kama si ujinga ni kitu gani? Mtu aje shambani kwako, avune mazao yako, aje kuuzie wewe kwa bei ghali, na wewe ukae umenyamaza. Ni wakati serikali ichukue hatua, tuangalie kuwa kama vile Wachina kwao wanatoa ulinzi katika anga zao, na sisi anga zetu za Kenya ziweze kulindwa. Wavuvi wetu wamekuwa maskini miaka mingi, ni wakati sasa wavuvi waweze kutambulika katika taifa hili, wapewe sehemu yao kama inavyohitajika, ili tuweze kuona uchumi wa Kenya ukipanda juu. Jambo la pili, ningependa kuelezea kuwa samaki inaliwa na watu wengi sana. Wengi sasa utapata unakimbia nyama kwa sababu ya madhara ambayo inakuja na nyama. Lakini hata ukienda hospitali daktari anakuambia white meat. Sisi tuna samaki. Na nataka tuenzi samaki kama vile mataifa mengine yanavyoenzi samaki. Natembea katika supermarket zetu nyingi sana, nikiangalia wanauza samaki kutoka katika ziwa Victoria ambao ni maji baridi. mimi ningeomba waweze pia kuuza samaki kutoka maji ya chumvi ili tuweze kuinua uchumi wa wavuvi wetu wote wa kutoka pwani na wa kutoka bara. Na mimi nataka nishukuru, nimeona supermarket moja juzi nikitembea katika pita zangu, nikaona wameweka samaki zote za bara na za pwani, ambaye ni hii supermarket ya K4. Mimi nawashukuru sana kwa sababu wameweza kutoa mfano mzuri. Tusiuze tu samaki ya kutoka ziwani peke yake, tuangalie pia na samaki ya bahari ili tuweze kuboresha ile soko la samaki. Jambo lingine ambalo nataka kuzungumzia, Mheshimiwa Spika, sehemu ya kuweza kuhifadhi samaki imekuwa pia donda sugu kwa wavuvi wetu. Wanavua samaki nyingi, lakini zile cold room, mahali pa kuweka baridi samaki, imekuwa ni adimu kwao. Na wengi utapata wamekaa kule kando ya bahari na samaki wao, wanakuambia nisipouza leo, mimi kesho itakuwa samaki umeharibika na watoto wangu hawatopata chakula. Namuomba pia chairman mpya wa fishing aweze kuangalia kuwa beach management unit wanaweza kupewa sehemu pale kando ya bahari, kando na sehemu zingine za soko. Kando ya bahari tupate sehemu za kuweza kuhifadhi samaki. Na mimi pia ningependa kuelezea serikali, soko la samaki ni muhimu sana katika taifa hili. Na ukiangalia kule Kisauni, wavuvi wengi sana walinifuata kama mama county, wakanambia mama, tunaomba tujengewe soko la samaki. Kwa nini wanaomba? Kwa sababu wengi hawajulikani kama wana samaki, wamevua lakini pengine jirani yake na jirani ndio wanajua. Laiti wakipata soko ya kuweza kuweka samaki, itakuwa inaaminika kuwa lile soko pale ndio soko la samaki na kila mmoja atawania kwenda kununua. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo lingine ambalo nilikuwa nataka kusema ni kuwa tuangalia pia sehemu viwanda vya samaki. Toka tuelezewe vyajengwa, hatuoni vikimalizwa. Serikali imekuwa na uvivu sana katika biashara ya samaki. Kwa kweli ukiangalia hata ile ambayo yajengwa pale Liwatoni bado haijamalizwa. Kuna nyingine ambayo iko Malindi, kuna moja ambayo iko Ngomeni kule Magarini na zingine. Mimi ningeomba wapatie kipaumbele soko la samaki, waweze kujenga industry na factories ambazo tutaweza sisi kupeleka samaki wetu, tuweze kufanya packaging, samaki wa mikebe kama tuna na wengine. Manake ukitembea katika supermarkets utapata kuwa tunapata tuna kutoka India, tunapata tuna kutoka China, tunapata tuna kutoka hata mataifa jirani, wakati ambapo sisi Kenya tuna wetu hapa, tuna ngege, tuna ile mbuta, tuna samaki kila aina ambao ni samaki tamu sana. Kwa hiyo mimi ningependa kuelezea kuwa waweze kuboresha soko la samaki, kwa sababu yeye mwenyewe ameingia katika kufanya marketing. Hakikishe kuwa samaki zetu wanazipa soko ambao ni soko italeta mazao hapa Kenya, itainua uchumi wa Kenya. Jambo lingine, Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nilikuwa nataka kuzungumzia mambo ya sanitation ama mambo ya usafi katika bahari zetu. Meli nyingi zitapita zikimwaya pengine oil, zikimwaya mafuta ya gari ya meli, unapata kuwa pengine wanatupa taka pale baharini. Hii inaweza kuregesha soko ya samaki nyuma, kwa sababu samaki wengi wanakufa baharini. Ndio maana mheshimiwa mmoja amesema siku hizi utapata samaki wengi wamekufa lakini wako kando ya bahari. Imetendeka pia Mombasa, imetendeka na sehemu nyingine. Ni jambo ambalo linatupatia wasiwasi sisi kama wabunge kuona kuwa samaki wengi na wale ambao wamekufa huwezi kutumia, kwa sababu hatujui wamekufa kwa sababu wamekula sumu ama wamekufa pale kwa sababu ya kitu gani. Kwa hiyo sisi tunaomba pia waweze kuboresha beach zetu, kuhakikisha ni safi. Waweza kuwekewa hawa wavuvi wa samaki mahali pa kwenda choo, mahali pa safi. Waweze kuwapatia mavazi safi, mavazi mazuri ya kuweza kuwakinga na baridi kule baharini. Waweze kuangalia meli kubwa ambayo itaingia deep sea iweze kutoa samaki, tuweze kupata samaki zetu kwa wingi. Mheshimiwa Spika, naona muda unami, lakini nasema vifo baharini pia vimekuwa vingi. Tuangalie pia hawa wavuvi wetu wanapata enough training ya kuweza kujimudu, na wakiwa baharini wajue wakaweza kutetea maisha yao namna gani. Kwa hayo, asante Spika, na mimi napongeza sana hii.
Sawa sawa. Wacha tumpate sasa mbunge wa Jomvu, Honorable Badi.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi pia nataka kuungana na wenzangu katika kumpongeza Mheshimiwa Martin Ogindo, kwa sababu mimi ninaizungumza hapa nafahamu Mheshimiwa alifanya kazi na yeye, kwa sababu amekuwa katika bunge hili. Leo hii katika kuchaguliwa katika Kenya Fish Marketing Authority, ambayo hii ni bodi ama ya kuweza kutafuta soko ya hawa samaki wetu. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nataka kuchukua fursa hii kusema tunatoka kule Mombasa, na Mombasa kuna wavuvi wengi sana ambao wanavua, lakini shida kubwa tunaangalia katika biashara. Mheshimiwa Spika, huwezi kufanya biashara ikiwa huwezi kufanya proper marketing ama kuona kwa mauzo ya ile biashara waweza kuifanya namna gani. Na nikisema hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Martin ambaye amechaguliwa mwenyekiti yuko na kazi kubwa sana ya kufanya, kwa sababu hawa wafanyi biashara wa samaki wana changamoto nyingi sana. Mfano moja tukiangalia ni vifaa ambavyo hawana. Leo huwezi kufanya marketing ama huwezi kufanya mauzo ya samaki ikiwa hujapata samaki, na samaki kuwapata huwezi kupata hao samaki ikiwa huna vifaa bora. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka kusema kuwa Mheshimiwa Martin ambaye ni mwenyekiti wa bodi hii ni lazima aone kuwa ameweza kuwafanyia nguvu hawa wavuvi wa samaki kuweza kupata vifaa vizuri vya kuvulia samaki. Pia vile vile Mheshimiwa Spika, kitu ambacho nataka kusema ni kwa kuwa kuna wavuvi wengi sana kule nyanjani. Mfano mimi nikiangazia katika sehemu yangu, kuna wavuvi pale Mkupe, kuna wavuvi pale Jomvu Mission, kuna wavuvi Jomvu Kuu, kuna wavuvi Mikindani, kuna wavuvi Kibarani, kuna wavuvi Likoni. Hawa wavuvi wote ni muhimu sana katika hii bodi, wawe wanaweza kuwatambua ili kuona kuwa wanaweza kuwainua katika biashara yao, katika kuwatafutia market, ili wakivua isiwe ni ile hali wazungu wanasema hand to mouth, lakini ni lazima wafanye commercial shipping ama ile biashara commercial fishing, yani ile biashara ya ukuzaji wa samaki wa kupata mapato, sio ule wa kuuza kwa nyumba moja hadi nyumba nyingine. Tumeona wanenaji wengine ambao wamezungumza juu ya hawa ndugu zetu wa China ambao wanakwenda deep sea ama ndani kabisa kwa bahari kuweza kuvua. Tukiangalia katika nchi zao, hata hapa Uganda peke yake, tunaona serikali ya Uganda imeweka mikakati kabisa kuona kuwa anga yake haiwezi kuingiliwa. Kwa hivyo na sisi ni muhimu sana katika serikali yetu ya Kenya kuona kuwa hawa wa China wawe wamewekewa sheria, si ati wao sasa wavue samaki kwetu, alafu wakishavua samaki kwetu waje watuuzie sasa sisi ambao wametuvulia samaki tutoe pesa tuweze kununua. Ile ambao wao wanaweza kufanya, watu wetu wa Kenya pia wanaweza kufanya. Kwa hivyo jambo la muhimu ni kuona kuwa hii bodi imeweza kuboresha wavuvi katika sehemu zetu zote, iwe Lake Victoria, iwe kwingine kote kule. Tumeona katika ziwa Victoria ambao wavuvi wengi waliondolewa katika sehemu ambazo walikuwa wakifanya kazi. Hivi sasa wako mahali kunaitwa Dunga Beach. Jambo la muhimu ni kuona kuwa marketing ile itoke nje ya Kisumu na sehemu nyingine ambazo wanaweza kuuza mapato yao ili waweze kupata pesa zao. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo la muhimu tu kulingana na wakati na mimi niweze kuachia wenzangu wapate kuchangia, ni kwa kuwa tutampongeza Mheshimiwa Martin pamoja na timu yake yote kuona kuwa waweze kufanya kazi, na pia vile vile wajue kuwa sisi kama wabunge tunaunga mkono, kwa sababu tunamjua Mheshimiwa Martin Ogindo kuwa tajriba yake ya kufanya kazi, tumefanya kazi naye hapa. Mimi nikiwa mjumbe wa Jomvu, hii ni awamu yangu ya 3. Nimechaguliwa kutoka 2013 mpaka leo. Kwa hivyo hali ya Mheshimiwa Martin naijua, na mimi nataka nimwambie kuwa tutaweza kufanya kazi pamoja, kushikana na yeye pamoja katika kuona kuwa tunaboresha mambo yetu ya uvuvi na samaki wetu. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, na Mungu akubariki, na nakushukuru kwa kunipa hii nafasi ili na mimi kuweza kuchangia. Asante.
Very well. The Honorable Peter Kihungi, if he's not in the House, I will proceed. The Honorable Paul Biego Chesumei. Not being in the House, I'll move to the Honorable Eric Muchangi, Runyenjes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And from the onset, I wish to support the nominee, the Honorable Martin Ogindo. And Mr. Speaker, I wish to start by saying that the fishing industry is a very important industry in this country. And the Honorable Martin, having been a member of Parliament, is a person who is experienced, is a man who comes from the lakeside. So we believe that he understands the issues that belong to the lakeside, among them the fishing industry. Mr. Speaker, the nominee is very well educated, and we believe that a combination of his experience plus his academic qualifications makes him a very good chairman who will now steer forward the fishing industry as the chairman of the Kenya Fish Marketing Authority. Mr. Speaker, like I have said, that the fishing industry in this country still lies underexploited. And we only have around 0.54% contribution from the fishing industry or economy to the GDP. And this is a percentage that, Mr. Speaker, needs to be improved. Mr. Speaker, the fishing opportunities at the coast still remains underexploited. And we believe that with the nomination of this chairman, we believe that these opportunities at the coast will be exploited to the benefit of this country. And it is important, Mr. Speaker, that the allegations that have been said by one of our colleagues here be investigated, that there are foreigners who come to our deep seas to come and do the fishing and thereafter sell the fish to us, telling us that the fish comes from China. This would be an insult to the people of Kenya when they consume their own fish while still imagining that it is fish coming from China. So, Mr. Speaker, again, I like the comments that were made by my fellow Member of Parliament here, the Honorable Kuria Kimani, about the dams. Yeah? When we have the many dams that will be constructed by the Kenya Kwanza government, let there be a component of fishing. And also, Mr. Speaker, I know, you see, fishing is synonymous with the people coming from the lakeside. The people of Mount Kenya do not take as much fish as those from the lakeside or those from the coast region. What the people from Mount Kenya eat most is ideri, mokimo, and such. So we also would like this and modokoi. I am being reminded. It is important that this chairman also considers marketing these fish across Mount Kenya, so that also the people from Mount Kenya can be accustomed to eating fish, which is a very delicious meal. So, Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I wish to support the appointment of the Honorable Martin Ogindo as chairman of the Kenya Fish Marketing Authority. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. The Honorable Kibet Komingoi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I rise to also support the recommendation of the Committee on the Blue Economy and Mining on appointment of Martin Ogindo. This actually represents the Kenya Kwanza inclusion policy on regional representation, and also the fact that Mr. Ogindo is a competent, skilled, and civil servant, a former member of parliament, whose character would actually fit both as a as a fisherman himself and also as a commercial enterprise that he's going to run in trying to market the fish and the fish products in this country. Number two, Mr. Speaker, is on the question of protecting our territories and also protecting our resources. The fish resources in this country needs to be protected. It should be remembered that fish is within our seas, our lakes, and also the rivers within this nation. You can remember, Mr. Speaker, the kind of war we always have with Uganda and Migingo in protecting the resources around our lakes. This will be part of the things that would urge Mr. Martin to be able to see to it that our resources are protected. Further to that, Mr. Speaker, is a question of investment in the fishing industry, in value addition, and making sure that our fishermen are well protected, provided with gears, the landing sites being constructed, the storage facilities, and also availing the market, studying the trends in the world to be able to see to it that our fishermen are able to provide what the market needs with the fish products. Further to that also, there should be special focus, should be given to the marginalized areas. In mind, I have Lake Turkana, which has a lot of resources. I also have in mind Lake Baringo and the rivers within our nation, which also provides the fish that needs to be marketed. These regions, we must be able to invest in them. We must be able to provide the facilities and also educate our fishermen and the farmers that are able, so that they may be able to earn from these livelihoods. If we are able to do this and improve all that we require within these regions, we shall be protecting the livelihoods of our people. We also will be providing nutrition to our people, and fishing as an industry will be able to contribute more significantly to the economy of this nation. I think with this, Mr. Speaker, I support this motion and the appointment of Martin Ogindo as the chair of Kenya Fish Marketing Authority. Thank you.
Very well. Next is the Honorable Richard Egon, Bomet East.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity also to weigh in my views on this, about this gentleman, Martin Ogindo. Mr. Speaker, this is something which I've also gone through his CV, and I just found out that this gentleman, Martin Ogindo, has got a vast wealth of experience of 20 years, which I know is going to bring on board into this authority of fish. What I wanted to add, Mr. Speaker, is that Mr. Ogindo, coming from the Lakeside region, he must be having a lot of wealth and knowledge about this industry. And again, I want also to put and challenge him by taking up this position that fish is one of the foreign exchange earners of this country. And if we see our neighboring countries like Uganda and Tanzania, personally, I've also been in that business of exporting fish, whereby I saw the fish going out of other countries. The other countries are taking more fish than Kenya. So we want him to get involved and check on all the challenges we are facing in our country to make sure that at least we also reap in the foreign exchange immensely. Again, Mr. Speaker, we have what is going on. I just heard reading from the media that the leader of opposition, Honorable Raila Odinga, want to take us back to the streets from after the Ramadan. And I want to see that, to tell the Luo nation that you must have seen now the Kenya Kwanza coming in and taking one of your own, that we are all inclusive. And this is a way of just trying to unite the country and giving this chance to this gentleman means that Kenya Kwanza doesn't have these issues of saying these people never voted for us, never done this to us. So we want this one as an enticing factor whereby to see Raila Odinga to check and see that we are trying to also support his own people from his area, his backyard. So we want him not to call off these issues of mass action by way of seeing that we are trying as Kenyans wanted to unite the country by appointing all the people from the whole country, from the whole region. So thank you. With those very new remarks, Mr. Speaker, I want to say thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I support.
The Honorable Mary Emase.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Let me add my voice. And from the onset, I want to support the motion on the appointment of the nominee to the Kenya Fish Marketing Authority. Mr. Speaker, I do not know the nominee personally, but listening to my colleagues and the compliments that they have said about this nominee, and reading the report and seeing the kind of qualifications that the nominee possesses, I am convinced that the nominee has got the capacity to actually undertake the task ahead of him, and therefore we have faith that he'll be able to deliver in that particular portfolio. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I want to say that Mr. Martin has been nominated to a sector that has got immense opportunities, a sector that can create a lot of employment opportunities for the youth and the fishermen of this country. Mr. Speaker, I just want to appeal to the nominee that once he takes office, it is important that he puts mechanisms in place to fully exploit the agro-based maritime resources within that sector. Mr. Speaker, also this sector is a sector that has been faced by a lot of challenges, some of them which have been mentioned, I will not repeat. But I want to point one case on Lake Victoria. We've had a number of our fishermen being arrested by the neighboring country because of the issue of the boundary between Kenya and this particular neighboring country. And I want to appeal to him to work closely with the Ministry of Interior and ensure that he finds a lasting solution to this particular challenge. Mr. Speaker, this particular sector on blue economy and fisheries is also a sector that can earn this country a lot of foreign exchange. So again, on that front, there is need for the nominee to ensure that he's got a robust research and development sector within that particular sector, so that we have value addition and therefore even be able to export some of our fish to other countries out there. Mr. Speaker, there is also a need for him to make sure that he builds partnerships, he builds technical partnerships, cooperation with other partner states, like Seychelles, for example, countries that have advanced technology in fishing and processing of the fish, so that we can benefit through such kind of engagements. Mr. Speaker, fishing is also not limited only to the oceans, to the coastal region or to the lake regions. We have small farmers across the country who have dug their own dams and are practicing farming within the comfort of their homes. I would also want to plead with the nominee to ensure that he reaches out to these small fish farmers within the mainland and all other parts of this country. And he gives them capacity building, and it also helps them find a market for their fish. By so doing, Mr. Speaker, I believe that this is a sector that will be able to generate a lot of foreign exchange and also boost the economy by creating employment opportunities for the people of this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I support.
Very well, House Leadership. The Honorable Naomi Wako.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to add my voice to this very important motion of nomination of Honorable Martin Oginde, as I also congratulate him and also the committee that has sat and compiled this great report for us. Mr. Speaker, I have gone through the report. I have seen that Honorable Martin is qualified and is well experienced, and I have a lot of faith in him that he will bring the necessary growth and transformation in that sector. And putting into consideration that blue economy is the future of our country, I would want to urge Honorable Martin to give attention to some few points that I will raise so that we grow this sector to its full capacity. Mr. Speaker, we know very well that Kenya has resources spread over an area of 245,000 kilometers square, or 42% of its total land area, which makes our country maritime state. That is a gift that God has given us that we need to utilize well and also earn our living from it. If we give a lot of attention and if the government invests a lot in this, then we will be able to get good income from it, because we know that giving it attention, investing enough, will create more jobs for our people, and especially now that we know that a lot of our young people are jobless and we are encountering a lot of problems because they are not occupied most of the time. This will also help us to spur our economy and also take care of our food security. That is why we need to invest in blue economy as a country, and especially now when we have many investors also who are interested in investing in our country. Mr. Speaker, we know that in the past we have not done well in investing in this area, but this is the time that as a country and as a Kenya Kwanza government, we need to give it all the attention that this sector deserves so that we can gain all that we need to gain from it. In 2018, the then Agriculture CS Mwangi Kiunjuri said Kenya was losing over 440 billion annually by failing to fully exploit the blue economy. I don't think that we have changed that situation even to date. And that is why we need to invest so that the 440 billion that the then CS, who is today a member of parliament in this honorable house with us, said that we were losing on annual basis. 440 billion is a lot of money that can take care of our economy. Mr. Speaker, we know very well that this country has a lot of opportunity. And as I said, especially when it comes to job employment, I want to urge the nominated, the CEO, the nominated chair, to give it the face of the country. Because where I come from, we are not associated with fish. We are known as people who love goat meat, cow meat, and all these others. But when it comes to fish, even in employment, many times we are not considered. And so I want to request that that sector, the blue economy sector, be considerate enough to give us the face of the country when it comes to employment. I also want to talk about the fishermen and women. In 12th Parliament, I was in Senate and I was in Agriculture Committee. And we visited some of our lakes. And the people who are there, the fishermen and women, shared with us the challenges they go through. Mr. Speaker, it is evident that they have been exploited in the past. Women have been sexually harassed, and some of them confessed to us that today they are HIV positive as a result of exploitation while they are doing their job. Some of them are single mothers, they have no money, they have nothing else to depend on. And when it comes to marketing, there are people who take advantage and exploit them. And so special attention should be given to the poor man, poor woman who sit there and working very hard for people to be able to do business around there, so that we can protect the interest of every Kenyan and also make sure that they gain what they are supposed to gain. Again, I would want to touch on the other farmers and the other parts of the country. Now that as a country and as a government, we are giving a lot of attention to farming and promoting local businesses, I would want to urge the blue economy and the chair now and the other people concerned to make sure that they encourage almost every household to have fish pots, so that they can be able to take care of their families, so that it becomes part of the entire country, and we all, be proud of our own product and make sure that we also take care of our health. As we also know that fish is very healthy. Many people, when they grow up, as long as you have gotten to the age of 40 or 50, you are advised to avoid red meat. And that means that fish is what we all need to have, and fish is what will sustain each one of us. Mr. Speaker, again, when it comes to fish, we know very well that the drought or the seasons that we go through may not have negative impact on the fish. As somebody said, you may not need any medicine, you may not need to feed, you may not, nothing will interfere as long as there is water, enough water. And so we need to focus more so that we encourage every citizen to invest in fish farming so that we can take care of our health, we can take care of our economy, and it becomes part of our lifestyle so that we improve on every area. Mr. Speaker, as I finish, I want to say that as a country, we need to take advantage of the many investors, especially at the moment, and those who are eyeing blue economy. Lake Turkana is close to where I come from, and we have a lot of opportunities there. Let us focus on the entire country and the opportunities that are there for us so that we invest a lot, and then we also create our own wealth from the resources that God has given us. With those few remarks, I support and congratulate the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, the Honorable Rindikiri Mugambi, and thank you for being patient.
Thank you. I was almost giving up, Mr. Speaker. But I want to thank you for this opportunity. I also want to thank the committee led by my friend, Mr. Bowen. First, on the outset, Mr. Speaker, I support the candidature and the appointment of our former colleague, Martin Otieno Ogido. He has already presented his credentials, which we have no questions about, and he has also given us his experience, which as a member of parliament, as an employee, and as a businessman, he qualifies for the position. Mr. Speaker, the fishing industry contributes about 0.5% of our national GDP and about 2% of national exports earnings. This is not a simple economy, but what we all know is that it has a very high potential. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we're looking forward as Otieno takes up this responsibility of heading the marketing authority for fish. We hope and believe that practically he shall do what this job entails. But based on his commitment and the Kenya Kwanza expectations, he is going to be the best candidate. Mr. Speaker, the blue economy touches so many sectors of our country. Tourism, the fish processing, manufacturing, and the value addition. There is sports associated with fish. There is employment and foreign exchange earner. So, Mr. Speaker, we are not talking about a very small industry. The only difference is that in the past, it was not given any prominence, but now the Kenya Kwanza government has picked blue economy as one of the sectors that need to be matured and promoted. Mr. Speaker, I know there are so many things that need to be done in this industry, and that's what we expect Martin and his associate shall fulfill. Mr. Speaker, I have observed that there is a basic education and training that takes place concerning fishing. But I think the time has come that we academically promote the teaching of the fishing and related. Mr. Speaker, I note that there is a production of different types of fishes. Now, we have to look at this very critically because, as I said, the benefit will be determined by the kind of activities that we expect from the production. Mr. Speaker, storage is a serious challenge. And at this point, I want to state to the members' benefit that I'm started practicing fish. And the famous trout fish that was mentioned here, I have started practicing it, and I bought a next to Kenya Trout Farm, which is owned by the former president, Mr. Mwai Kibaki. My son, my constituency, is known for that fish. So I'm authoritatively speaking that we have a product that can earn this country a lot of money. We call it a wild fish because its behavior is not the normal fish. So when we're talking about production, we must start focusing on the kind of fish that is going to be of high value, either on export or even consumption. Mr. Speaker, the challenge faced by many of farmers is transportation and storage. And I think, because when we talk of marketing, you have to transport fish. So I hope the first thing that Martin and his team need to invest in, either directly or indirectly, is the transport and storage of fish. Mr. Speaker, we know Kenya is not isolated in terms of fish industry, and I think the team of Martin need to focus on international markets because they are, but they should determine on the quality of fish and the type of fish that we shall produce. Remember the international agreement that affects the trade of fish. So we cannot only talk about the local market, we should also talk about international market, and this is where now we expect Martin and the chairman of the authority to spend a lot of time bringing in a lot of investors to come and invest in the fish industry in Kenya. But we know the government itself, even if we are faced with challenges of revenue, still we can put a bit of money in this sector, and I'm asking the committee to consider spending a lot of money here because we have a potential of an industry that is going to grow, particularly to create employment, to create infrastructure development, to bring in tourism. Mr. Speaker, this is an alternative sector of our economy. And therefore, I'm asking We are seeing a lot of conflict between communities, particularly in Baringo, and I hope I'm not going to be a victim of Kamket and the Baringo factor. I'm saying we need to start now inculcating to our communities that there's an alternative way of farming and earning income other than fighting for the limited resources of pasture. And I want to recommend fish farming in Baringo, seriously. I want to recommend fish farming in West Pokot, very seriously. I also want to recommend a lot of fish farming between my neighbors, Isiolo and Laikipia, so that now we don't start competing on the limited resources in terms of lanes. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the committee to consider recommending to our budget committee, and I can see the chair here, to allocate money for each primary school and secondary school to put up a fish fund, which will be both for teaching and the production of fish for our children. I think this will add value to the feeding program for our children. And I think, allowably, I will ask the members at one point in time that we consider the CDF for construction of a fish pond for each of our learning institutions, particularly primary schools, and also secondary schools. Mr. Speaker, I would like that as we move on, in order to increase productivity, we must come up with various incentives to the industry, which are not limited to only in export investors, also in inputs and feeding of fish. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, one of the challenges is the feeding of fish. What I've experienced, particularly as we are now farming fish in Mount Kenya, the feeding products for fish is a challenge in this country, and that's why places like where we come from, because we are not advantaged to have lakes and oceans in Mount Kenya region and the inland in general, we are faced with a challenge because we have to buy artificial feeding product for our fish. Mr. Speaker, I think to that, I know our candidate who have been presented by His Excellency the President, Honorable Martin Ogindo, is capable of taking this challenge and making this sector a reality to the expectation of Kenya Kwanza, our plan. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, the Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, MP Kiharo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. For this
Order, member. Following the preferences for members who have also been in the House for quite some time. So you may proceed, Honorable Ndindi Nyoro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute to this very important motion. First of all, I want to laud the committee that sat down and considered what we are debating today. And also I wish to congratulate the chairman, the Honorable Martin Ogindo, for this very important appointment. Mr. Speaker, sometimes when people serve in politics the way we do, there is usually a misconception out there that possibly politicians have no capacity to be professionals. But Mr. Speaker, the cycle is that, and the truth is that, even before people join even this house or any other house or leadership role that is based in politics, these people, Mr. Speaker, majority of them are already qualified professionals, and they come actually almost seconded from the other areas that they previously served. And therefore, it is very refreshing to see a former member of this house now taking the reins in this very important board of taking care of the marketing of the fish and fish products in this country. Mr. Speaker, I believe that the issue before us is one of food security, one. Number two, that of economy. And number three, that of nutrition. Because, Mr. Speaker, even as we talk about food security, sometimes we forget to align that food security with nutrition, because they should always go hand in hand. Food security is not just having a full stomach. It is also in the composition of what makes the stomach full. And, Mr. Speaker, fish is one of the premium products that we actually consume, and it is important that we know we are dealing with those three elements as we talk about this board, as we talk about this motion, and all are critical. It is critical that we talk about food security. It is important that we consider nutrition, but also more importantly, that the activity itself, Mr. Speaker, is an economic activity and a premium economic activity for that matter. Mr. Speaker, globally, the industry of fish is a huge one, valued at approximately $268 billion US. Mr. Speaker, this is more than double the size of the Kenyan economy. The fish industry in the world is in itself bigger than the entire GDP of our country multiplied by 2. This, Mr. Speaker, shows how important this is in the economic sense, and the more the reason that we should be having bodies that look after that very important activity. Mr. Speaker, even talking about the membership itself that we are considering, I have gone through the CV of the people who have been proposed to serve in this marketing board, Mr. Speaker, and it's enviable. The chairman has got a master's in science, Mr. Speaker, from the University of Nairobi, and also having also acquired a an undergraduate, Mr. Speaker. And even the membership itself, these are very competent people that will be leading this important enterprise. Mr. Speaker, however, sometimes we get it wrong. When we talk about fishing, sometimes it is, we are misled to think that fish only comes from lakes and oceans. But, Mr. Speaker, looking at the data, even from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, some of the counties that are very unlikely to produce fish are actually the highest producers of fish. Counties like Kakamega is very high. Mr. Speaker, county of Nyeri, where the member for Mukureni, who is seated just near, next to me, is actually top 7, including my county of Muranga, because aquaculture is also a huge segment within agriculture that produces fish. And in terms of fish pots, Mr. Speaker, and production of fish, unbeknown to many who may think probably that the areas around Mount Kenya, which is the mountain, that they rely on fish from the other areas, Mr. Speaker. Fish is produced across the country, from the western side to the Mount Kenya side, Mr. Speaker, and this is important, and especially as an economic activity and also as a source of quality food, Mr. Speaker, in terms of enhancing nutrition. Mr. Speaker, when we talk about fishing, and especially that which happens in oceans, sometimes, Mr. Speaker, this is a boundary issue. And that is why even within the areas that are Kenyan, we have seen a proliferation of other bigger world economies and consumers of fish, and specifically our friends, Mr. Speaker, in East Asia, and Mr. Speaker, others also from Europe, who are already doing massive fishing in our areas, Mr. Speaker. And I think it behoves a multi-agency kind of approach from the Coast Guard to the Kenya Maritime Authority, also to this board that has been created, that we make sure that we safeguard the resources that we have. Fish, Mr. Speaker, to my understanding, is equivalent to offshore kind of minerals. Mr. Speaker, from where I sit, whereas we go to fishing, Mr. Speaker, the kind of value we get from it is actually even much more than offshore mining. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, it is important that we safeguard our wealth, because wealth should be there to provide revenue and not just a source of assets. In an economy, an asset doesn't count much. What counts is what you derive from the asset. And since these assets are already ours, we should safeguard and derive enough revenues from them. As I finish, Mr. Speaker, I want to talk about something we were discussing with the chairman, Mr. Honorable Bowen Kagongo, about the fact that this board we are creating, and Mr. Speaker, this is on the basis that whereas I support the content, the singular content in what we are debating, I totally disagree and departure from that support in terms of the global approach. The reason being, Mr. Speaker, from where we sit, and especially in the Budget Committee, we have been doing a huge investment, capital investments in terms of fish landing sites, in terms of value addition of whatever we get from fishing, capital investments that are going towards helping our country and our economy and fisher folks, Mr. Speaker. The departure I am bringing forth is a departure that is global and a trade in our economy, where we are having a government that is only able to raise money to oil and sustain the same government. We are creating way too many bodies. We are creating too many regulatory authorities, too many, Mr. Speaker, boards that may not necessarily add any value in the sectors they are domiciled. It is important to bring to this House, Mr. Speaker, that the board we are talking about today, with a membership of close to 10, Mr. Speaker, this board is oversighting one staff. This board only has got one staff, and that staff is acting and not actually employed by the board, but seconded by the Kenya Cooperative Creameries, Mr. Speaker. We have gone to other sectors. A sector like, for example, scrap metal. Mr. Speaker, with a membership of 9, Kenya's Scrap Metal Authority, Mr. Speaker, Council, has got only one staff also, seconded from the ministry. And Mr. Speaker, that is why we are a bit more stringent in how we look at money bills also. We cannot continue to create an authority, a body, after every other product. Because the head of this, Mr. Speaker, is that we become a more regulated government. We have a government that plays a very huge role in the economy. And for an economy to be efficient, it is the private sector who should be marketing this. It is the private sector who are already there and making money, Mr. Speaker, who should be taking the lead role. And Mr. Speaker, this is something we must interrogate as this House. Currently, the government of Kenya has got
Okay, you know, he should have begun with this. Add him 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, this government and our country, as a country, number one, as a republic, a nation and a state, we are failing in regards to Kenya as a state, because we are becoming a very overregulated economy, Mr. Speaker. We have got 334 SAGAs, SOEs, authorities, Mr. Speaker, regulatory authorities, and tribunals. If you look at this, Mr. Speaker, majority of these bodies, authorities, duplicate their roles. We need as this House to be very critical, Mr. Speaker, going forward, that we downscale these 334 or so, because majority of them actually only serve the egos of the people who occupy positions, other than rendering quality service to the Kenyan people, and especially in the sectors they are domiciled. And I hope in the fullness of time, we are going to face this issue head-on, so that we do not have an overburdened country in terms of recurrence, and channel most of our resources in production, Mr. Speaker, in quality regulation, other than over excessive regulation. The government should serve the private sector, not do what the private sector should do. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
Very well. You can also have a chance of bringing a substantive bill that relates to the matter that you have addressed lastly, which is of great importance to this country. Next, let's have the MP for Sotik, Honorable Francis Sige.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to also support the motion. And on the onset, Mr. Speaker, I want to support the nomination of Mr. Honorable Martin Otieno Oginde. Chairman, by doing so, by extension, I want to thank the chairman of this committee. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, the chairman has done a very good job with this committee by looking at the person objectively and looking at the qualifications, Mr. Speaker. I'm very, very impressed. So this goes to the chairman of that committee, who has done very well. Mr. Martin Otieno Ogendo is a person of repute, a person of long standing in both political and managerial skills. Mr. Speaker, his academic qualifications cannot be questioned. And I know him personally. I know he'll deliver. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that today, fisheries has benefited, fisheries department. On the same note, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Kenya Kwanza government for creating a Ministry of Blue Economy. It's a serious thing. And the president, in his wisdom, saw it fit to create this very important ministry to look at this sector more seriously. And Mr. Speaker, I think I want to talk about what we should do, and this is going to the nominee. Number one, Mr. Speaker, I'd like him to concentrate on fish farming in this country. And Mr. Speaker, I have served in Mount Kenya for so many years. And far from what people are talking about, the Sagana fisheries in Kirinyaga County has played a very key role in actually promoting fish farming in Mount Kenya region. And as we talk now, Mount Kenya people are one of the highest consumers of fish and producers of fish. And we would like to support this. And Mr. Speaker, we would also like to see a change in behavior of our people to consume more fish, so that we see, apart from Lake Victoria, which is going out of production because of the depletion of tilapia, we also promote the small-scale farmer. A small-scale farmer in fish ponds, Mr. Speaker, is a very important farmer. And therefore, I support this motion. And further, Mr. Speaker, I was encouraged yesterday when the president appointed somebody to be in charge of Coast Guards Authority, which goes to tell you that this government is more serious in protecting this fishing industry. And therefore, I commend this government. We want to continue. We want to see more protection in Mugingo. We want Mugingo to be secured so that our people can be able to get fish. I want the Ministry of Interior to really look at this issue. Mr. Speaker, I also would like to talk about the infrastructure which my colleague talked about, that we need to look at the marketing aspect of fish and actually focus on whether we can also export fish. It's possible, Mr. Speaker. So I think we need to look at the consumption within the country and also focus on export of fish. And I'm very sure this country can benefit a lot from this. And more important is on nutrition, because fish is of high value. And therefore, we need to encourage our people to eat fish. Mr. Speaker, I think one of the issues which I also wanted to talk about is the issue of the small fishermen who are actually living from hand to mouth. How do we protect these fishermen so that they can be able to get more income from this upcoming industry? I think, and I propose, that for future, we need to look at cooperative movement. The cooperative movement in this country must add the issue of fish in their subject, in their content, so that we can be able to also observe the fishermen in our areas. And this goes a long way in even promoting the fish ponds which we have in our country. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I stand here to support the nomination of Martin Otieno Ogendo to be the chairman of this Kenya Fishing and Marketing Authority. Mr. Speaker, I support this motion.
Very well. The Honorable Harrison Kombe Magarini. Sasa tumekufikia.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, mvumilivu hatimaye hula mbivu. Nimevumilia japo peke yangu upande huu, lakini wakati wangu umefika. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwanza nichukue nafasi hii kumpongeza Rais kwa kumteua Mheshimiwa Martin Otieno kwa wadhifa huu wa kuwa mwenyekiti wa halmashauri hii ya soko la samaki. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni matumaini yangu na ya Wakenya wengi hasa wavuvi kwamba sehemu zile ambazo wanazimiliki, Mheshimiwa Spika, wataweza kupatiwa hali nzuri ya ulinzi. Utapata nikizungumzia habari ya kisiwa cha Migingo, kuna wakati mmoja Mheshimiwa Spika, tulipitia sehemu hiyo, lakini tulipata wavuvi wakihangaishwa na maafisa wa usalama wa Uganda. Ni matumaini yangu kwamba akiwa hapa ndugu Martin Otieno ataweza kuhakikisha ya kwamba wavuvi wetu wako salama kwa kupatiwa ulinzi na wale walinda usalama wa marine. Kukaweze kuwa na maboti ambayo yatakuwa yakizunguka kuhakikisha wavuvi wetu wako salama. Si Migingo tu peke yake, kuna hata sehemu zile za Kisimayu. Wavuvi wetu wengi wamepata kuteswa na maafisa wa usalama wa Somalia. Hivyo basi, Mheshimiwa Spika, ina maana ya kwamba maboti ya patrol ya kuweza kuzunguka maeneo yetu ya uvuvi yanahitajika kwa wingi. Kwa sasa hivi ninavyozungumza, Malindi, Ngomeni, Marereni, sehemu hizo zote hazina hata boti la kuweza kuwafuatia, hazina mashua ambazo ni za maafisa wa usalama kuhakikisha kwamba wavuvi wetu wako salama katika maeneo hayo. Pia vile vile ni muhimu wavuvi wetu wakaweze kupatiwa mashua na vifaa vya usalama. Mara nyingi tumepoteza wavuvi sehemu za Lamu kwa sababu wakati mwingine bahari huchafuka, na ikichafuka basi mawimbi huwa ni mazito.
Order member, there's a point of order, and maybe you remember you have to state under which point of order you are standing.
Speaker, Honorable Speaker, I'm raising a point of order, and Honorable Member for Magarini is still upstanding.
Please,
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, starting on a point of order number 95, that I would want to ask you, request you, Honorable Speaker, that the mover of the motion be asked to reply, because, Honorable Speaker, as you can clearly see, we are remaining with only just a few minutes, about 10 minutes, for the time allocated for this debate. Honorable Speaker, if we allow all the members to speak, then we'll only have one member speaking. And because the mover of the motion has the leeway to donate 2 minutes to each member, then Honorable Speaker, maybe he could help us in that regard. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Order. I think whereas you have stood risen from your place correctly on Standing Order 95, this particular motion still has some times, and therefore the mover will not be limited in any way, even if we allow the few interests which are here to speak on this. Proceed, Honorable.
Mheshimiwa Spika, asante, na ni ishara mbaya kwa mwenzangu kusimama wakati ninaendelea na kuleta hoja ya nidhamu pasipokuwa na utovu wa nidhamu. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna haja ya kuhakikisha ya kwamba wavuvi wetu, wawe wa ziwani, wawe wa baharini, wanapewa vifaa vya kutosha vya kuweza kufanyia kazi zao, hasa vifaa vya usalama. Iwapo kutakuwa bahari imechafuka ama ziwa limechafuka, wawe wanaweza kujimudu, hata ijapo mashua imezama, wawe wanaweza kuolea na kutoka nchi kavu. Pia vile vile, Mheshimiwa Spika, niseme hapa kwamba kamati husika pia ilifanya vizuri, maana ilitembelea sehemu yangu wakiongozwa na mwenyekiti wao, sehemu ile ya Bahari ya Kati, ambapo waliweza kwenda kuchunguza ujenzi wa chumba cha kuweka mashini ama mitambo ya kuhifadhi samaki. Ni kazi nzuri ambayo wameifanya, na kadhalika pia vile vile imeweza kupanua hiyo sehemu, kwa sababu stima imeweza kuvutwa mpaka sehemu hiyo, ambapo wananchi wa sehemu hiyo pia nao watapata nafasi ya kuweza kupata stima kwa kutumia majumbani mwao. Mheshimiwa Spika, hayo yote yakiendelea, Mheshimiwa Spika, pia vile vile niseme kuna haja ya kusambaza huduma hizi kuanzia sehemu za juu, Marereni, Kipini, huko kote pia kukaweze kujengwa sehemu za kuhifadhi samaki. Maana samaki wengi wanapovuliwa huwa wanaozea huko baharini, kwa sababu hakuna nafasi ya kuhifadhi samaki hao, na pia vile vile soko wakati mwingine linakosekana, na basi wavuvi wanaenda hasara. Mheshimiwa Spika, niendelee na kumpongeza aliyeteuliwa Bwana Martin, kwamba pia vile vile nimwalike aende akafanye kazi yake nzuri kama vile alivyoweza kuwahudumia wananchi katika sehemu ile aliyokuwa amechaguliwa. Ni matumaini sasa anaenda kuhudumia Wakenya wote kwa jumla, na kwa hayo machache au mengi ninasema ninaunga mkono uteuzi wake. Asante.
Very well, the Honorable Gichimu Githinji is in the house.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And because of the interests that are there and the limited time that we have, I'll wish to take the least time possible, because in this matter we are just supporting, for those who are supporting like me, the nomination of this honorable member Honorable Martin Otieno to be the chairman of the Kenya Fisheries Marketing Authority. Mr. Speaker, first of all, fisheries is a very big contributor to the food security in this country. And what I would propose is that before even we think of marketing, we need to think of production, because we cannot market what we don't have. Statistics have it that the demand of fish in this country is over 600,000 tons, whereas the production is only about 150,000 tons. So, Mr. Speaker, the first focus is on the production, so that even if so that this board can have something to market. And I support the creation of this board and even the appointment of the board, because fish is a very important sector, and it's very lucrative in terms of even resources. What the board also needs to do, Mr. Speaker, is also to look at the issue of the poaching. Fish poaching against the Kenyan coastline and the territorial waters is very high. And I think we need a concerted effort, Kenya Maritime Authority, this board, and probably even involving the Navy, so that we can be able to deal with the poaching that is extracting our very valuable resources in terms of fish alongside the coastline and within the Kenyan territorial waters. As I conclude, the use of technology, you know, these other countries that are usually invading in our territories are using very sophisticated equipments to be able to fish, process, package, and even market their fish while they are still in the waters. So I believe this is an area that they also need to look at, so that we can also be able to match those other countries that are very good at this, including value addition, and also to try reduce on the cases, the wrangles that have been there. We've seen instances whereby equipments are brought for value addition in this country, and we have even court cases as we speak in respect of those matters. So I believe this committee, which is led by the able Kangogo Bowen, will be able to look at all the aspects in respect of the fish farming and be able to help the fishermen and also improve in terms of the production of fish for this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that opportunity. I support.
Very well. The remaining few minutes, and for affirmative action, let's give to Honorable Toto, a youth. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this time to rise also and support a motion. First of all, I want to thank the Committee on Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation for actually nominating one of the members to be the chair of the Fish Marketing and Authorities. First of all, Mr. Speaker, having gone through the history of Martin, he has 20 years experience of work, having worked as a member of Parliament for Rangwe constituency. He has also been an accountant in the Ministry of Local Government. Mr. Speaker, I came to realize also he has been working with the governor for Nairobi County in the year 2016. Mr. Speaker, because of time, I want to say the nominee Otieno, he is competent and he is equal up to the task. Therefore, I rise and say I support the motion to be the chairperson of the Kenya Fish and Marketing Authorities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My card has been having a problem, but I thank God today I've been given that opportunity. Thank you.
Very well. The Honorable Geoffrey Mwangi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to lend my voice to this very, very important motion. And Mr. Speaker, from the onset, allow me to say that I support the report of the committee on the nominee, Mr. Martin Ogindo, and I wish him all the best as he takes the helm at this very important organization. I would urge him to make his first order of business the appointment of a substantive CEO, because this organization is now nearly 3 years old and has not had a substantive CEO, and also implement fully the organization structure to ensure that KFMA is fully operationalized. I would also urge him to make the protection of our fishermen, especially from foreign vessels, a priority to ensure that Kenya continues to reap maximum benefit from this very important industry. Mr. Speaker, I would like to point out that unfortunately fishing has always been seen as something that happens at the Kenyan coast, all at the other end of the country, that is Lake Victoria and the other big water bodies. And it is very, very important that KFMA makes fishing have a national outlook by ensuring that we also promote it in our rivers and even in our smaller water bodies. Mr. Speaker, for example, in my constituency, Tetu, we have a rare but much sought after fish called trout, which does very well in cold water. But there has been little or actually no government effort to promote the farming of this type of fish. Neither has there been any effort to promote consumption of fish, especially in the inland communities. So KFMA should not look at marketing of fish just as an export market, but also to promote a large local industry which can become a very, very good source of market for our fish. Mr. Speaker, we are told that by scientists, but because of these issues of climate change, the issues around carbon footprint, going forward, we'll have to think about our sources of protein. Today, our sources of animal protein are predominantly beef, mutton, and others. But Mr. Speaker, let me point out to you that to produce 1 kg of beef, we have to emit about 99 kilograms of carbon. Yet to produce a kilo of fish just takes about 10.
Order, honorable member. You still have a balance of about 4 minutes. We shall carry it forward to the next session. Honorable members, and the time being 7 p.m., this House stands adjourned until Tuesday, 18th April 2023 at 2:30 p.m.
Good morning to you and on this particular Wednesday, on the 12th of April. The year is 2022. A broadcast made possible through the collaboration between the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation and the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit. A day after the National Assembly resumed its sitting, there is a lot to be considered by members of the National Assembly in today's order paper. And the very first motion given priority in the order paper this morning is a motion by the Nyali Member of Parliament, Honorable Mohammed Ali. And in this particular motion, the MP seeks to have the House criminalize matters to do with homosexuality in the country. This is a motion that in a way goes hand in hand with the Family Protection Bill, a bill by Honorable Paul Kaloma that also seeks to criminalize matters to do with spearheading the gospel of homosexuality in the country. The reduction of cost of electricity in the country is a motion by Honorable Jane Kagiri, the Honorable Member for Naivasha Town. And in this particular motion, aware that the cost of electricity has been an all-time high, affecting the cost of living and doing business, as well as acknowledging that the Kenya Power and Lighting Company produces or procures electricity from the Kenya Electricity Generating Company, a company-owned, as well as from the independent power producers, and recognizing that Kenya Power has entered into power purchase agreements with both Kenyan as well as independent power producers and procures the matters to do with electricity in the country. The Member of Parliament